Lost in the dark.
What is up, Crypt Crew? Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. Jesus, this is an extraordinary episode. This is why I got into podcasting, episodes like this, honestly. Tonight, we welcome extraordinarily special guests, Wayne and Michelle from the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Be sure to check out all things that podcast. Links in the description below. You know, Aaron and I guested on episode 5 of their podcast, so go back and check that out if you want to hear us ramble about things. So basically, they'll tell the story, but they basically had a paranormal experience. They had a shared UFO sighting that was pretty extraordinary, which they do share with us on this episode, and then that catalysts them eventually leading into them doing a podcast. And I'm just so happy for them, and so like it's so awesome to see how quickly they've grown in such a short amount of time within it, and it's really great to see, especially being from Michigan. And that's how I found them, honestly, was like a random like Facebook ad or something like that, and they because I'm in if there's a Michigan Facebook group relating to anything paranormal or heavy metal, I'm probably in it. So I think it was like one of those groups that, it might have been the Michigan Dogman group or something that posted their episode about Dogman. I listened to it, so I wrote in. They asked for people to have, send in their experiences or whatever. I wrote in, and that ends up leading us to Aaron and I, our first guest spot ever on a podcast on theirs, episode 5. And then them coming on our show to have this amazing conversation that you guys are all about to see. And it really, like, when I started this thing, it was literally like under the impression that no one would ever hear this, and it would just be basically me recording cool conversations that I have with my friends, like on the way to and from concerts or just driving around Michigan back roads or whatever. Those like crazy ass deep philosophical conversations you get in with your friends and shit. Like, that's all I thought this would ever be. Dead serious. And now we're at this point where we're having these incredible guests on. People are finding us. People are apparently listening. It's insane to me. It's insane that, and on top of all of that, so that was the original intention, but I also kind of came at it from the angle of be the Kevin Smith of heavy metal. Like be the guy that just talks about the shit that he loves. Let this be a space for just shit you like, and just like really pump it out there and get into it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was heavy metal, but also massively influenced by the paranormal, by things like Coast to Coast AM, X-Files. I grew up with paranormal stuff in my life, and it's pop culture, not like experiences, but like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, X-Files, Tales from the Crypt. I grew up with this shit. Ghostbusters 1, to this day, in my opinion, is a perfect movie. It is literally, you cannot add or remove a single scene. It is perfect the way it is. I love that movie. So it's always been kind of my influence in coming into this podcast and doing it at all, has always kind of been a mixture of my passions, which two of the biggest one is heavy metal, of course, but then there's also the paranormal, And it's just something I've always like really been fascinated by. You know, anybody that's watched this show before knows I take a very scientific route to it. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and I want to believe, but I still need that proof. And to get to a point in podcasting to not only be a guest, but have a paranormal based podcast want us to be on and to be a guest on our show. I mean, 3 years in, I mean, full circle at this point for me, full circle. I genuinely, such an amazing experience. These are such amazing people. And I genuinely hope to be a guest on their show again. I cannot wait to have them back on our show. Like, I feel like we could, like, kind of almost do a regular thing with everything that's going on right now in the paranormal community, especially the UFOs and stuff. Because everybody knows that in the UP, the UFOs are real. Little Escanaba and the Moonlight shout out right there. But you know, it just blows my mind. It just, like, really, I can never ever from the bottom of my heart thank them enough. Like, this is seriously a crazy episode for like way more than one reason other than what I just said. Like, there's like a lot of really fucking insane synchronicities. If you listen to the episode we guested on with them and this episode, the synchronicities are insane. It is a small fucking world, people. And it's just, I don't know. Like, you know, this is another one of those ones where I just genuinely felt like I could have, you know, I could have known these people my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait to meet them in person. That will happen. Maybe we'll even do a podcast in person one day, a crossover or something. And, you know, that would be awesome. And it is just the synchronicities, like everything, like it's just everything about it's so wild to me. It's just still sitting here right now talking to you about it. I did this podcast like a few days ago. So like, and I'm doing this intro like after the fact. It's still blowing my mind. It's still blowing my mind. So like, you know, this is what I'm saying. Like, to anybody out there, you know, that's thinking about starting anything, thinking about starting a YouTube channel, a podcast, picking up a guitar, anything, like, you just do it. Like, you have to start. You have to start in order to get to the point you imagine yourself wanting to be. So, you know, go back and listen to my first episode. Dog shit. Absolute first 100 were probably dog shit. So, you know, except for the ones where we had cool people on. But, you know, you start off shitty and you get good. It's the same. It's an instrument. It's a sport. It's same as everything else. You start cooking. You know, you start off shitty, you get good. Better, at least. I'm not saying we're good. I'm not. Definitely don't think we're there yet. But you get better at least, and you never know where it's gonna lead. And this thing has just it blows my mind every day. I'm like, I wake up and I go, did that really happen? It's insane to me, and I can never, ever, ever, ever thank everybody enough that's ever been on the show. And I can never thank Wayne and Michelle enough. They are just phenomenal human beings, and I love their podcast so much. Can never thank them enough for having us on and having any interest at all in wanting to be on our show. It's magic. It's magic to me. It's the world of podcasting, and it's, I never saw any of this coming, but I am so grateful and thankful that all of it has. And, like, it really floors me. It really floors me on a very regular basis. And I gotta get that gratitude out there. You know what I mean? I love putting that out there. So, you know, to Wayne and Michelle in the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, you know, to all the bands, Keith from The Convalescence, A Suffocating Lie, Victims of the System, War, Bravura, Tyrant, Kill the Imposter. You know what? Wayne and Michelle, you guys have influenced me. You guys have actually influenced me because you guys have an awesome little shout out section on your show. And when I heard that, I was like, why the fuck don't I have that? So I am going to write everybody down. And from now on, every episode after this one will have an official like shout out section to the people that have been on the show, the people we want to support, and of course Bob Wraith and Recorruptor, and maybe we just find a new podcast that week or something that we want to like shout out to, you know, something we're into, stuff we're into or whatever. I'm gonna start doing that. That's gonna be a thing from here on out. I'm gonna start doing that, and that Wayne and Michelle, and another podcast, Dipping Milk and Cookies, with Garrett Cookie Commander Smith and the Master Milker Mike Sarkovia. Huge shout out to them. They influenced me to do it as well. And they will be included in those shout outs. I love that podcast. And we hope once they're not on video yet or whatever, but we'll get that figured out eventually. And we'll definitely be guesting on one another show. Garrett from Dipping Milk and Cookies is in the band Reflection of Flesh and has been on Lost in the Dark already. So that's pretty awesome. But I definitely want to, I would love to guest on that show. That'd be awesome. But in any case, without further ado, I have talked for way too long. I'm so sorry. It's been a minute. You know, it's just, yeah, I'm really, really genuinely from the bottom of my heart excited for you all to see this conversation, because this one meant one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. It meant the world to me to have other fellow podcasters, but of the paranormal realm, on our show. It's something I've always wanted. So it really just, everything about this is very special and really means the world to me from the bottom of my heart. So once again, can never thank them enough. Wayne and Michelle from the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Links in the description below for all things Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Without further ado, real quick, there is one little, like, this is about to start off a little bit weird because Zoom recently had a recent update, and now we can hear it, but you guys can't. Whenever we hit record, it goes, recording now. Like, we hear a voice talk to us, and it's been throwing me off on my intros every time. But you guys know me, unless I have a guest that specifically requests it, I cut nothing. And for the record, that has only ever happened once, and you guys will eventually find out why. That's coming. So nothing has ever really been cut. So I didn't cut this weird little chunk out in the beginning, but I did want to that's why it starts a little like that. You guys didn't hear it, but we're talking about it. So you guys will hear that. But without further ado, Wayne and Michelle, I know you guys are hearing this right now. Seriously, that meant the world to me. Cannot wait to talk to you guys again. Aaron and I will meet up with you in person for sure. And this to me is what podcasting is all about. This is the art of podcasting. This is the magic of podcasting. This episode is it to me. Like, this is everything that me, at least as a fan and as a listener, would want a podcast to be. And that's all I've ever wanted to do, is make something that if I found it, I would like it. So, and that's 100% what this is. So thank you. Seriously, can never, ever, ever thank you guys enough from the bottom of my heart for, responding, just responding and then going as far to actually have some episodes with us. So, and I cannot, it just absolutely means the world to me. And I really, really hope we we do more in the future. We do a lot more. I really hope to do a lot more in the future with you guys. So this was tremendous fun, and thank you so much for being on the show. And everybody else, without further ado, here we go. This is a big one, everyone. This is a big episode. Welcome, Wayne and Michelle, hosts of the Michigan UFO and Paranormal Sighting Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy. Love you all to death. And welcome back, everyone. Isn't that weird? It just started doing that.
I know, that's the
It always sounds it's official.
Yeah, right.
The latest update. They did that.
Welcome back, everyone, to Lost in the Dark. We are here with two very, very special guests, Wayne and Michelle of the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
We Aaron and I guested on your guys' show about 2 weeks ago. And we had an absolute blast. And as we get closer and closer to this big UFO report coming out, things just keep rolling out, more and more news every day. And just really exciting to have you guys on and talk to you about all of it.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to keep up with everything at this point.
Yeah.
Especially Michelle and I not being the lifelong UFO researchers that, are out there, what's his name? Richard Dolan and, all of these guys that have been following this forever. 'Cause for us, this is kind of new and it's just blown up like crazy.
Yeah, it really has. So yeah, we will get into all that, but there is another reason why I wanted to have you on tonight as well. I wanted to talk to you guys about music, about heavy metal. Because you were in a couple bands back in the 90s, I believe. One in which you were kind enough to send me a hard copy of an album, which I have right here for those of you watching on YouTube can see it.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah, I'm a hard copy collector, so thank you so much for this. This was from your band Sightings, Portrait of Pain EP. So yeah, what is your how did both of you find heavy metal music to begin with?
Well, when I was growing up, I grew up with, a house full of sisters, and in the 70s and early 80s, it was all about the dance music stuff, the disco of the time and all that.
Yep.
And, that was okay. But as I got older, I started hanging out with some different people, and I was probably about 12, 13 years old, something like that. And one of my friends said, "Hey, you gotta listen to this." And I believe it was The Trooper by Iron Maiden. But I mean, rock and roll wise though, along mixed into that disco era though, was Boston.
Okay.
And I remember seeing the album cover. It was a guitar made into flying saucers, which was weird now that I think back about it. And it was the album that had the song More Than a Feeling.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't remember what that album was, but that kind of got me interested in like, what is this strange sound? And then it was my one friend was like, check out this band Iron Maiden. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And I heard the galloping guitars and the yelling / singing by Bruce Dickinson. I was like, whoa. Then it was like a week later, my one friend who was like a drug pusher was like, you got to check this out. And it was Metallica, Ride the Lightning. And I was just blown away. I was like, holy crap. And then it just spiraled from there to having, I was fully vested at that point. It was, I've got to find out more about what is this metal stuff, man. What is this metal stuff? And I just loved the guitar work and the drum work. And next thing you know, my room is covered in Iron Maiden posters, Metallica posters,
Yes.
Megadeth. I think I got my first guitar when I was like 15, 14, something like that.
Do you remember what it was?
Oh, it was a piece of crap, no name, $100 guitar. It looked cool. It was like a Les Paul with like a black and smoky gray body to it. I remember that. It never stayed in tune. And I had one of those little gorilla amplifiers, just this little thing, man. And just I would play and play and play until my fingers would bleed. I didn't even care if it made noise, if it was in tune or not. I just kept playing until I started to finally figure out, like, how does this work? And then I got into, years down the road, got into playing into like a band with, my friends in high school, and, started to actually try to do something a little bit. And then I was like, well, I'm going in the military, so I'll see you guys later. Got out of the military a couple of years later and decided, with a friend of mine from high school that was playing bass for us, me and him got together and said, let's do something. Let's try something for real. And so we did, and we invested the money in the equipment and things like that, and shopped around for a drummer, found a drummer, got a singer, and the rest was pretty much history.
And that was Subsidence.
That was Subsidence. Yeah, that was well, when we first started out, it was really stupid because, when you go through the high school days of drawing on the notebooks and dreaming up band names and all that, the first band name we had was SOS.
Okay.
Yeah, and that stood for Servants of Satan.
Almost like a Kiss, like Knights in Satan's Service kind of.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's awesome.
So, and we did the whole taking pictures in a graveyard in front of graves. I got those pictures. I mean, just
how
really,
black metal.
Oh yeah, that was black metal before there was black metal.
Right.
It was like, whoa. But yeah, so that's kind of where it started with me, and then it just continued to go.
All right.
Me, I couldn't play an instrument to save my life. I was one of those choir kids.
Okay.
So I can sing, and that was pretty much it. That was my career. Now, music wise, man, I grew up in a household where it was either, bluegrass or Eddie Rabbit. And it wasn't until, I would say, growing up, it was more of like that European persuasion, the pop music. And then right around the 80s, like hair bands, the Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, and,
Gross.
Hey, but as far as like getting into metal, I would say that Metallica was probably my first exposure to it. And then back in the Columbia House days where you could get like 13 tapes for 99 cents.
Yeah.
I was like 13 years old, shouldn't have had an account, but did.
Yeah.
And my first one was Painkiller.
Oh.
And I remember
That's a good one.
That is when all of that news hit about, I believe that there was a teenager that had, taken their life.
Yes.
And so I remember getting that knock on the door, like, it's like, hey, Michelle, in all of your music, do you have this album called Painkiller? And of course, I've got it like right in front of me. And it's like, how can I smuggle it underneath something so that my mom does not see the tape? So, but yeah, my music taste has always been really eclectic. So I'm all over the place.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I guess you could say part of the way I got into like really, really heavy stuff, because when I was coming up at, getting into it around 12, 13, I was watching a lot of, this is back when VH1 still played music videos. But at night from like 1 a.m. to like 4 or 5 a.m., they would have on Metal Mania is what they would call it. And they had a lot of hair metal stuff. So a lot of Whitesnake, a lot of Poison, Motley Crue. So I did end up liking a lot of that, as well as, Megadeth, Metallica, Cannibal Corpse, all the super heavy stuff at the same time. So I grew up with that, not really knowing until later and watching documentaries and stuff that Metallica pretty much only exists because of how much they hated hair metal and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I had no idea there was all that like
and animosity, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I
I
definitely
hated hair metal. Oh, the closest
see?
I ever got to hair metal was Def Leppard.
Okay.
Pyromania, and I don't know if that's really hair metal, but then when one of their next albums came out, I think it was the one with Pour Some Sugar on Me or whatever, and I was ready to set the place on fire.
I don't know. You're talking to me. I had like
Hysteria,
a life-size Kip Winger poster on the back of my bedroom door.
Yeah, no.
But then you could open my closet door and there was my Kill 'Em All poster.
Yeah. See, there you go. Exactly. You gotta have
sounds
the
like
balance.
a typical girl.
Have
Keep the bad boys in the closet and keep the little girly boys out front, huh?
I had all the long hair lovelies plastering my bedroom walls when I was a teenager.
Yes. Have you guys ever heard of a band called Steel Panther?
Yes. They're ridiculous.
I love them.
They're great.
Them. Yeah, they're one of the best. I've seen them a handful of times in different places all throughout Michigan. Awesome. So that's your so that's how you guys get into metal. Fantastic. I always like to ask people that are on the show for the first time how they get into it, because quite frankly, it's something most people never get into or understand at all, let alone end up falling in love with to the point of wanting to play it and things like that. I think people come into it, from different aspects. For me, when I was growing up, it was like I finally found an outlet for a lot of anger I had, and metal was it. It wasn't the Saturday Night Fever kind of stuff, No, I wasn't going to dance my anger away. Right.
Well, and it was funny because actually the first like metal show where I saw a growler, it was actually the first night that I met Wayne.
No
back
way.
in 93. So here I am standing there, this white poet shirt, long blonde hair, and I'm like, how do I headbang?
Where was that?
That was at the IROC down in Detroit.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you in what was Wayne playing or
no? Actually, my best friend in high school, she was dating the guitarist, and she had invited myself and my roommate and a couple of friends to come down to
Wait a minute, are you talking about Nicola?
I am talking about Nicola.
She wasn't dating the guitarist. I was.
No, she was dating the lead singer. I'm sorry. Oopsie.
Right.
So
this is when I met Michelle.
Yeah, she was dating the lead singer, and so she had invited me down. She wanted me to meet the bass guitarist.
Yeah, the guy that in the band that doesn't do much.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. And so I don't know. Wayne would have to tell you the rest of the story of that because I was not on the prowl that night. But obviously, I
don't know. You're pretty kicking dressed up.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
well, she didn't really look like she fit into coming into the place like the IROC down in Detroit there.
Mm-hmm.
No. So we were. Were we setting up? What time were you guys there? Because I think we were setting up the stage.
I have no idea. That was 93.
Yeah, I think we were doing sound. We set up and we were doing sound check and stuff and getting the stage all set up. And we had all this stuff we would put up in front of our speakers. Our band symbol was over both amps. And because I had a big, I still do have my 412 stack. I got a stack,
nice.
So it's a good 6 feet tall with 8 12-inch speakers in it with magnets that will destroy any kind of cell phone at 50 feet because those magnets are huge. And we just did a sound check and stuff and setting everything up, and I turn and look and I hear some noise toward the front of the club. I see some people come in, and I recognized her friend because obviously she was dating our singer at the time. And then I saw her come around the corner, and it was like a spotlight hit her. It was like blonde hair, white blousey shirt in a dark club. And it's like, you look around and you go, wait a minute, which one of these things don't belong? And I was like, oh man, she's pretty. Wonder who that is. And then her friend Nicola brought her around to meet all of us, and I was like, oh man, this is not going to go well.
You
But
want
it
to talk
went
about,
well.
yeah, you want to talk about someone who was incredibly shy. His way of getting my attention once he found out that I was underage was coming up from behind me, putting a pop in front of me. Here's a pop from the guitarist, and he took off running.
It
True
sounds like
story.
something I would do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
Kind of
just took
snuck
off
around
running.
behind her because I saw the X on her hand. So I went to the bar because we had free drinks and everything, you know, whatever we wanted. And so I went up to the bar and was like, hey, get me a Coke. So dude, you know, gets the little spray thing out and makes the Coke, and I take it and I come up behind her and I set it in front of her. I said, that's a Coke from the guitarist, and I took off. She ended up chasing me down.
So, well, and like, you know, the rest was history. We dated for almost a year, and then, you know, things happen, and we kind of went our separate ways for about 23 years.
oh wow.
And so we didn't reconnect until late 2014
14, yeah.
Oh
and,
wow.
and got married in 2017.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
That is a heavy metal love story right there.
it is a heavy metal love story. So yeah, it's funny though how many times I would carry like his guitar in, and I'd get the are you the guitarist or the singer from the chick band?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, just helping the guys out.
Yeah. Crazy times. Crazy
Um,
times.
So you get to you guys start Subsidence.
Yep.
Well, actually, I guess side note real quick. Do you still play?
Now, I haven't really played my guitar since about 1990. Well, the last show I did was in 98.
Okay.
And that was pretty much the last time I really played.
He would jam in the basement though. Don't let him not tell you
Yeah.
that one.
But see, that's playing around when
Well, that's what I mean though. Even just
Yeah.
like practicing, tooling around, having fun.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all I ever do.
But you know, my equipment being purchased back in, you know, let's see, when I was 20 something, so it's over 27 years old, and it's been all over the country. It's pretty trashed. So it's not like, you know, the volume pots on everything are fried. My Jackson is fried.
That's-
you know, I took it all apart, you know, trying to fix it. I'm like, no, I need a pro to do this.
That's
'Cause I had
something.
active pickups in it.
Okay.
So I had the old EMG 85.
Ah.
I liked doing the harmonics. If you listen to the album, you'll hear I pull off all kinds of harmonics.
Yeah.
I like to do. And yeah, I was you know, now it's just sitting in the basement, kind of put back together, and it's, you know, just sitting there.
So what kind of gear what's your favorite gear? What kind of gear did you use? Like what's the amp? What kind of Jackson?
Well, I invested probably about when we started to do this seriously, I probably dumped about $2,000 into. $1,000 went into my cabinets. I have, you know, like I said, I got the Randall 412 stack. So 8 Randall 12-inch speakers in that bad boy. And then I bought the 88 MP1. So that was my preamp. And then I had a Hush unit, which was the Pro Q.
Okay.
And then that went into I had a tuner, a rack, and this was all rack. I did everything in the racks. And then I had a 200-watt Moss valve.
Oh, wow.
Amplifier. So, you know, it was, you know, I got the big SKB case, you know, and that was a good 80 pounds to be lugging around.
Yep.
You know, and on top of the speaker cabinets and things like that. So yeah, so my favorite sound though has always been the ADA as a preamp, and because all the different things now it's like you get one little rack thing, and it's your amp and all the sounds you could possibly want, you know.
Yeah.
So
and what's the guitars? What kind of guitars?
I had 2 guitars. So when you listen to Portrait of Pain, Portrait of Pain was down tuned to D, so D down tuning. from a E440 standard tuning. And so, so you could get those fat bar chords, but I did that on a Ibanez. I had an Ibanez Strat, and which I had had the pickups ripped out of and had had active EMG in that as well. Yeah. And then my main guitar though, for recording most of the songs was my Jackson, the Flying V.
Is it a RR or like a Kerry King style?
No, RR. It was
Randy.
Yeah.
Come on. That's like a couple years ago, I got like my first ever dream guitar from back in like the late, like 2007, 8, 9. I remember seeing it in Guitar Center, and it was Jackson RR3 with a crimson swirl on it.
Okay.
I love Jackson RRs, dude. I love the Randy. Those are absolutely my favorite style. I mean, and like we talked about when I was on your show, my guy is Alexi Leho, and he used a version of that. Yeah. So
from
that's
Children of Bodom.
Yeah. And that's the style of guitar he used as well. So they're absolutely, that's awesome. What color is it?
It's black.
Nice.
Yeah, just straight black.
Yeah. I love those guitars, man. They're so great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that was just a side note. I'm always curious about gear, especially with guitarists, because I've been really researching a lot of different stuff lately. And EMG pickups are the best. Like I love the EMGs. Yeah.
I always loved, it was the combination of that sound along with my Pro Q preamp going into the ADA MP1 preamp, which was MIDI at the time. Then I could go out to a MIDI pedal, and that's how I would play. I would go from different distortions, to have a flange, to have a compressor, and then my clean sound, and then a clean sound with chorus, so kind of like being able to do all that stuff. But the ADA, and I forgot who it was that I saw had, I think it was Testament. Ooh. They were sponsored by ADA. And then I found out that when Metallica did the Black Album, they recorded with the ADA MP1 as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I really liked the sound of their guitars. I always did. And I really liked the sound. I didn't care for the album too much, but I liked the sound of the recording. I mean, Bob Rock did an awesome job with the recording.
Mm-hmm.
The production of the songs, well, all right, well, whatever. We can leave that for another day. I'm not a huge fan of it, but the sound, the recording of that album made me listen to it. It wasn't necessarily the music; it was the sound of the music. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, just really crisp and solid.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. So then when does what happens towards how long does Subsidence last, and when does your other band Thick THIK come into play? Because this is a totally different sound.
Yeah. I want to say we were Subsidence for a good 3.5 years.
Okay.
And we were writing music for,
starting when? About
92 is when we started. 93 was when roughly 93 was when we started playing out and getting ready to do a little 4-song demo at the time and figuring out what songs we wanted to do. But we took a good year. We rented we called it our rehearsal space, but it was a storage shed.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And we built a little stage in it. We had a double storage shed. So, we built a little stage to have all our stuff set up, put up some sound equipment, some chairs and a couch. And man, if we weren't playing out every day, we were in that shed practicing. And
awesome.
Yeah, that was
14 Mile, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we used to always hit the Denny's.
Yeah, Madison Heights. Yep. 14 Mile and John R. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. What was there? Oakland Mall. It was behind Oakland Mall.
Right behind the mall and right near that Denny's.
Which I think was tore down. All that mall was tore down or something. I thought they bulldozed that whole place.
No clue.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been over there in ages. But yeah, so that's where we would we would practice. And yeah, I want to say we were together probably about 4 years as Subsidence, and then the singer, so we had our original singer. Like if you listen to that CD,
Mhm.
the last 4 songs are a remastering of our original tape.
Yes,
And
I
then
noticed
had
that.
our first singer on there, and that was Chris. And he left the band, and then we got James in the band, who was a phenomenal singer. And then after we had done we did a show at the State Theater down in Detroit.
What's now called the Fillmore?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Wow,
Yep.
that's awesome.
So yeah, because
Love that
we
place.
had played there a few times, because one of the shows we did there, one of our last shows together as well, was Geezer Butler. We were kind of like the was it Z-Rock? We were the Z-Rock heavy metal band, kind of. If any national band was coming to Detroit, we kind of had first dibs on being able to open for them. So I got to sit in the back room with Burton C. Bell from Fear Factory, because he was singing at the time, hanging out with him, hanging out with Geezer Butler.
Wow.
He signed a bass guitar for my drummer. My drummer had won a bass guitar during that show. Somehow he got his name drawn for something. So he got the bass guitar and got it signed by Geezer and all that. And then Sharon Osbourne, she was sitting back there. She was the manager. So we were just having a blast sitting in the back dressing room and stuff, yapping with them, and got to play with those guys, which was awesome. So yeah, but I actually think that was a 101 riff show.
Oh,
it
nice.
wasn't a Z-Rock show, but
I don't know. The only time I came to see Thick was when you guys opened for Biohazard.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
the Ritz. Yeah, that was a crazy show.
That was at the Ritz in Roseville.
Yeah, then it became the Palladium.
And then it went back to the Ritz in Roseville under whatever owner. So
yeah. Yep. So
you played bio like the Dimebag Biohazard?
No, this is
who am I thinking? Oh no, sorry, I was thinking of Damage Plan. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
No, this is the original Biohazard, like Evan Seinfeld and
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they were kind of like a punky rapcore kind of. I don't know. It was different, but that fit in with the style that we became later, which was Thick.
With Thick, yeah.
I kind of kept my writing methodology. I kind of kept it the same music wise, except we took a lot of the faster drum beats out of it, but kept the guitars really hard and stuff. And then we were looking and shopping around for a different type of singer, and we wanted somebody who could rap and scream is what we kind of figured we wanted. We interviewed and played around with this one dude that was a rapper, did okay, but just didn't have the vibe. He was pretty good at what he did. And then we met another singer, had never been in a band before. That was Brett. And Brett was a hairdresser. And I mean, it's funny, but man, the girls loved him. He was a good looking guy, so he was the perfect front man. And he could cut hair. So, all of our hair and all that stuff, which was kind of funny.
Oh, wait, this was in Thick?
This was Thick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you had that like sick, like,
the mohawk.
It was like a mullet hawk. It looked like in the pictures in the
well,
CD
that's because I would wear it pulled back.
Right.
I would wear it in 2 ponytails, basically.
Okay.
And then the long ponytail from the back of my head, I had hair down to about the middle to my upper middle back there. And then I would braid it. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was kind of, I don't know, just being weird, I guess.
God, I remember our time together having to shave your head. That was always fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So
now the Thick, what made you go, I want, because Subsidence is pretty like straightforward, like death thrashy metal kind of.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go like, let's go with a rapper screamer this time? Like, what was that? What made you think that?
What made me think that was, and I remember us talking about this. I mean, vaguely, but I remember this. And the thought process was, hey, we're writing this thrash metal, and it's cool to play fast and all this stuff. But to me and my ear, it was like, the faster we play, it seems like the first of all, the sound gets kind of muddied, right? So you expect, because we always focused on playing live. We want it to be 100% straight up live. Like if you record us on a video camera, it's going to be what you get on the album. Maybe it's it's faster live, obviously, because everybody's hyped up.
Mm-hmm.
But so, I wanted everybody to be able to hear the drums, the bass, the singer, the guitar. I wanted all that to always sound like its own thing. And that was the one methodology I had. And then the other, to me, the songs that I loved the best, that always grabbed my attention, were like the Anthrax and the breakdowns, right? Like the Metallica, the one about the Pharaohs and Living Death. Was that it?
Oh, wait.
Right?
I'm not sure. Pharaohs, about pharaohs.
Yeah, it was about the oh Jesus. now I'm having the old metal guy moment.
Are you talking about Creeping Death?
Creeping Death.
Oh, Creeping Death. Yes.
And where they do the breakdown, right? And people go ape shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what's making these songs. It's so I wanted to create songs that had more of a driving rhythm to them and still had the breakdown. But if you listen to any part of the song, you could easily get into it and not want to wait for the breakdown. But that was just something added on in top. Anthrax was famous for that, being able to put those breakdowns in their song, playing fast, and then it would be and it's like, oh, and everybody's going nuts. And I was like, I want to see more of that when we're playing a whole song. And when we started to put some things together and we slowed things down a little bit, it just, everything just kind of fell into place and became more of a rhythm. So we would have mosh pit, people going nuts, the dudes are all fighting, and then you could look off to the sides and you would see the chicks dancing. Right? So you would have dancing going on because the rhythm is there, and we got the pump,
right,
the good old kind of
it's like a Rob Zombie video.
Yeah, right, like Thunder Kiss, right? And that kind of went through my head too. That whole song is dun 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 dun, right? It's like that whole song is just driving at you. And so that was like what popped in my head, was like, we should do that because we get just a more of a solid sound live, and there's something for everybody without selling out, because Brett could rap and be like a loud rapper, kind of punkish. And then he could go into a scream and just, swear at you in your face. Ah! And it was like awesome, So we had those elements that we could play with back and forth. And then the other thing too is I wanted people to be able to hear the singer and be able to pull out the lyrics and things like that. Right. And that's always a big criticism of like death metal and thrash.
Yeah.
Oh, how can you hear that? Well, if you're not into death metal, you're trying to listen for lyrics. When I'm listening to death metal, to me, the singer is the same as the guitarist, is the same as the bassist. Their voice is an instrument.
Yes.
Right. So in my mind, for the death stuff, I layer the vocals with that, with a sound.
Yeah. It's less about what he's saying, more about what the sound is.
Exactly. And what sounds that they can produce, when they're singing, that goes with the music and gives you that vibe.
Right. And I mean, for me at least, I 100% agree with you. But also, when it comes to the screamers or the growl vocalists or whatever, the more you listen, to me at least, the easier it is to understand. I remember the first one, because I was really into like all the 80s stuff. Like anything from the 80s is what I was into for a really long time. I just want to listen to Megadeth and Iron Maiden and Dio and Ozzy and all that stuff. And I was like, nothing, all the new stuff sucks. I don't like any of it. But I was also pretty much just subject to the radio at that point in time.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, things like MySpace came around and all this stuff. And we all of a sudden had better access to, at that point in time, what was a little bit more underground.
Right.
And my cousin showed me Lamb of God. And I remember the first song he showed me, I think, was Laid to Rest. And
geez. Yes, absolutely.
And I remember after the song was over, because another band that I knew that I liked a lot because it had the screaming. So at that point in time, I didn't really like the screaming. I liked, the Bruce Dickinson and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one band though that I liked that had some screaming was a band called 3 Inches of Blood. And they had two singers. One of them was a very like crazy violent sounding screamer. And the other one sounded like Rob Halford on Painkillers, like that crazy, super high pitch, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Soprano type of singer.
Yeah. And I really liked them.
King Diamond-ish.
Yes. And I really was into them. So when I heard Lamb of God, my first question after the song was over was, who are their singers? Because I was like, there's no way that sound comes out of one person.
Yeah.
Like I'd never heard anything like that before. And now, like, he sounds completely normal to me, and I can listen to a brand new Cannibal album and pick out most of the lyrics and stuff like that. So it definitely becomes easy. The Jamie Josta has a joke on his podcast, which I love. He calls it everybody that before you get into death metal, everybody has bitch ears, and eventually you got to lose your bitch ears to hear it and understand it.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I love that. But yeah, it is definitely you. So part of it was to kind of like maybe just like be a little bit more accessible, but have the edge, still have that really heavy edge.
Because
Excellent.
right at that time too was also when you started to see some bands show up like Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
And I was
this is like almost a precursor to nu metal in some ways.
Yes. Yeah. I guess you could say that, because when we did our first demo as Thick, we released a cassette tape, I think, with 3 or 4 songs on it, and we called it H3. And people were like, well, what's H3? I said, well, that's our style of music now. They're like, well, what's that? It's hardcore hip hop. That's what we called it.
Yes.
It's heavy music with a rapper that gets pissed off and will scream, and it just, everything just kind of fit. And they were like, I remember when we were doing this and people were like, well, have you ever heard Rage Against the Machine? I was like, no, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay. And then Deftones was another one. Right. And, and then it just seemed like it continued to go down that line. And I was like, things are, as things open up, more and more genres are starting to cross over. And then before we really, I guess I want to say, like, what really kicked my brain into gear about switching gears from Subsidence to like the Thick style was the Anthrax Public Enemy.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Bring the Noise.
Yeah.
It's like, that is cool.
Incredible.
But what if you had a growler or with a rapper, or at least a screamer with a rapper?
Yeah.
and had those cool riffs like that. I said, man, you could really just play and get the whole audience. The dude in the back that wants the hair metal, right? Wait a minute. There's a rhythm to that. It's just not fast playing all the time. And I can kind of hear what's going on. Whoa, he's yelling at me. I got to check this out.
Yeah.
Right. So, there was a little bit of that to be more accessible, but when I was up on stage, I wanted to have fun, and I really fed off the energy of the audience. And the more they were involved in moshing and getting into it, it was that's what really gave me the hype of doing what I did,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And
crazy ride, that's for sure.
And so how long does Thick last?
Thick went till 98.
Okay.
And we were talking with Maverick Records, which was Madonna's label, after we released Shock the World, and we were supposed to go on a 2-week tour with the Deftones.
Oh wow.
But we had to cough up an awful lot of money. You had to rent the space for your gear on the tour bus, and for 2 weeks it was going to cost us a ton of money. I was working a full-time job. I had a decent job working in IT and whatever, so that's how I financed my habit of playing out and recording albums and stuff. But also at that same time, my mother had been diagnosed with stage 4 small cell lung cancer. So I was like, this is cool and all, but guys, I'm not up to doing no 2 weeks on the road right now. My mom is sick, and I wouldn't expect you guys to do anything. The next thing I know, they said, well, we got somebody else that will play guitar. I'm like, these are my songs,
right?
But my mom was sick and stuff. I was like, you know what, that's cool. So like, you guys continue to do what you do. So they ended up kind of continuing on for a little bit. Then they ended up getting 2 singers, I think, a keyboardist, to put samples in and stuff like that. I know Brett didn't stay around for much longer after that. And then the one guitarist that they had, I remember I was teaching them how to play the songs because I wanted these guys to still get out there and do their thing. And they recorded a demo afterwards too. But it didn't go much further. And I remember the one guitarist, it was probably about almost a year after I just called it quits with that and dealing with my mom and her dying and things like that. And I remember they got a hold of me and was like, dude, we're doing this. We got the guitar player's gone and we need to play the songs. Will you come play? I said, sure, whatever. And went back, and I had totally changed my lifestyle, I guess you could say, at that point. I cleaned myself up a lot. I got very much into physical fitness. I was training at a karate dojo. I started this martial arts path.
Nice.
Yeah. And, I was becoming an amateur fighter at that point. And, I go and I do this one show with them. This was in late 98, I want to say. And, they're like, man, it's great to have you playing again. All the songs sound like they used to. I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. And I remember my bass player saying, so would you ever consider coming back? And I just remember looking at him and going, no, this is just a one-time deal. And I said, I had to make a lot of changes in my life. And I said, I'm not willing to give that up anymore. So, because when you're in a band, like when we were Sightings and Thick, it was 24/7. I mean, I put a lot of my life and things that I wanted to do, as we all did, and being in a band. When you're hardcore into wanting to make a band work and playing 4 nights a week, driving all over the country to play, there's not a lot of time for anything else, especially yourself. And, you get lost in that. And, and I don't know what it's like now, considering how everything's opened up on the internet and you can self-publish and copyrights. And back in the day, you know, you needed to have lawyers, you needed to have a record deal. It was evil competition. You know, there was lots of backdoor deals, and you know, club owners that didn't want to pay you. You know, then it was you know, here, buy these tickets and then sell them to your friends. You guys can make everything after the first 10 tickets you sell, right? This kind of stuff, pay to play kind of stuff. And it seemed like it was just spiraling out of control, arguing with club owners. Hey, we packed your club again tonight and you're giving us $100.
Right.
Bro, no. You know, and that kind of stuff just gets to you. And it's like, okay, so what are we really doing here? You know, looking for a record deal where we got to pay? What? You know?
And then, you know, so many people back then got signed to those like 360 deals that are just terrible. Like,
oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It was, you know, who was one of the other guys we were talking, a Grandmaster P, I guess. He had a record label in Detroit or something. And we were looking at negotiating with them too. And, you know, it was just like that. I think that was more when we were in thick, because Madonna was interested in it too. She was interested because she had signed Deftones. And it was, you know, and that's why they were going to put us on the road with Deftones.
Right.
We matched up with them and they wanted to see like how people responded on a bigger scale. Well, you know, and then come to find out, after I left the band, they never went and did that 2-week thing anyways. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, so you know, take it for what it's worth, you know.
Yeah.
It was a sign that maybe it was just my time.
Yeah, you felt the need to hang up the spurs. So
but I never left metal. You know,
you're still a metal.
I left the band, but I'm still metal.
You still like to go to shows and stuff?
You know, I'm not a big show goer. You know, the only time I really went to shows was when I was playing them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, and I guess it's kind of one of those things where it was like, if I went to a show and saw somebody play, it was like, I want to be up there playing. I don't want to watch them.
I do get that feeling.
Right. I want to be up there sharing the stage with them. And now here I am, just a spectator.
Yeah, and before Wayne and I got back together, I was the concert goer.
Oh, geez.
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay.
How many times did you see Motley Crue?
That was the one. Yeah, that was that 1 year. It's like, how many concerts can I drive around the state of Michigan to see?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I've had those summers or years.
I mean, there were times that I think I spent like almost every weekend at Harpo's.
Oh,
depending on the shows there, and like certain artists, Wasp, if Blackie was in town, okay, gotta go see that show. If Dio's showing, okay, gotta go see the Dio show. Or my favorite, and it's still one of my favorite bands, is Genotorturers. And whenever Genotorturers, they're out of Miami, I believe.
The singer is wife to David Vincent from Morbid Angel.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and she's a clinical psychologist or whatever.
I was gonna say, if you ever get a chance, just look up one of her shows on YouTube, and you'll be like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, it's like live stage S&M bondage kind of. All the songs are about,
but it's great music. And so Wayne gave me a CD. I mean, I still have it. Speaking of CDs, from over 20 years ago, and it was the 120 Days of Genotorture.
Yeah.
And from there it was like, okay, next was like Sin City.
Yeah.
And then what is it, Black Heart Revolution, that's a
great
album. My god, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were the, hey, I'll show up in Michigan every 3-year shows, and I was like at every single one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
So yeah, I loved concerts, but the crowds nowadays, and a lot of these halls aren't even open anymore.
Yeah, well, a lot of the concert places are done.
Well, and we're not even talking about COVID. I'm talking about like even before COVID, they're not open anymore.
Yeah. They have definitely. I've seen a lot come and go just in short amount of time, last 15, 16 years I've been going to shows.
Yeah, everything's happening quicker with that too, it seems.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of sad because one of the bonuses of like going down to Detroit and standing outside of Harpo's is that we would count how many guys would go into like the quarter movie across the street
Oh yeah.
and just laugh hysterically when they would come out like within a very short time frame.
See, and while they're standing out front in the line doing that stuff, I'm around back putting equipment into Harpo's
Right.
and hanging out with the headliners and stuff, doing
Right.
all that.
Well,
Yeah.
and I was going to say that many a musician I've met, behind like by the, the tour buses where the fans would stand. But the best one was when Spider got from PM5K, got off the bus one time. And he was like, "Excuse me, little lady." And I don't know what kind of shoes he had on, but I just looked at him like, "Oh God, you're a tall motherfucker."
Yeah, he was.
Oh my
tall
God,
dude,
he was
yeah.
like 6'5" or something.
Yeah, he was pretty tall.
And I'm like 5'2", 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I
All
think
right.
the tallest dude I ever met in the music biz, and unfortunately he has passed away now, was Peter Steele from
Typo.
Carnivore and Typo Negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was fortunate.
He was a big dude.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was sitting at Harpo, sitting out on the table, signing autographs, and he's like, "Hi, how's it going?"
Typo Negative, those were just nice guys
Oh, they were
because
great. Yeah.
they even played a show in the parking lot at Rock of Ages on Ford Road.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of like
Yeah.
a promo deal before they were playing a show here in Michigan
Okay.
that it was kind of like secret news. Hey, Typo is playing in the parking lot at Rock of Ages. I'm like, okay, how many streets can we park away and actually stand in the parking lot and watch
Right.
Typo Negative?
Yeah. Yep.
So
I was fortunate enough to see them once out at the Orbit Room. I think they were playing with Hatebreed or something.
mhm.
That was
There was a matchup.
right. Yeah, no, there's or maybe God, I can't remember. It was either Hatebreed or Megadeth though. And that is one thing. There are a handful that I consider myself very fortunate to have seen live. Like the guy from Typo is one of them. The guy from Static X, Wayne Static. I did get to see
Yes.
him once.
Yeah.
Mitch from Suicide Silence. I saw him once.
Mm.
I did get to see Dio once play with they had it was Machine Head, Megadeth, and Heaven and Hell at at Kobo. And so it was Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, and the other Bill Ward, right?
Bill Ward,
Bill
right?
Ward, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like the Black Sabbath Dio lineup. So in seeing Tony Iommi was nuts.
Yeah.
There's like
With
I
his
actually
fingertips.
playing a right-handed guitar, left-handed.
Yep.
Um
And had his
amazing.
fingertips cut off.
Yes,
you know.
yeah,
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
That was just unbelievable. So there I do have like a running list of and I did once get to see Kevin Dubrow from Quiet Riot. That was extremely exciting. I loved Quiet Riot growing up. Come On, Feel the Noise, love that.
Oh yeah. See, that was 2 albums that I had, was Def Leppard, Pyromania, and Quiet Riot.
And Quiet Riot, of course, originally featured Randy Rhoads.
That's right.
He went to Ozzy after Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
So this is a question then, I guess, Wayne, you kind of already answered it. You said you're never much of a show goer. So I guess
Right.
what I'll ask you is what is your favorite show you've ever played?
Oh Jesus.
Or like favorite band you've ever opened for or anything? Did
Oh,
you ever
man.
play outside of the United States?
No, but I
Okay.
did sing a horrible song over in Canada one time.
Okay.
Jumped up
Oh my God, that was at California's.
California's in
Oh my-
Windsor.
The best rock bar in Windsor, 911 Walker Road. I will never forget the address. And now it's condos. They leveled the bar and made condos.
Yeah.
Mm.
I remember I was wearing my backstage passes and stuff because we had done a show over here, and then we took off and went over to California's, and there was a band playing. They were doing a what was it? Come on, what's the band?
What over there?
Yeah, what was the band they were covering? Rage Against the Machine.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I
Speaking of
jumped up
Rage
there
from earlier.
and you know, the guy had me come up on the stage. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell. Right. So I sang that little bar of music with him. We were screaming. But yeah. So man.
Back during the days of Molson Ice and Long Island Ice days.
Yeah.
When Molson Ice was good.
Yeah. Oh, favorite show I ever went to or saw?
Well, that or
oh,
played, because you said you're
played?
more of
Oh,
a,
geez.
you prefer playing
Yeah.
them than going to them, really.
I gotta say, one of my favorite shows that we ever played was with Geezer when he came out as GZR.
Okay.
Because that was crazy. The place was packed to see Geezer, and then we just blew up the place, and people loved it. That was Subsidence still.
Yeah.
That was one of our last shows at Subsidence. Man, there's so many good ones.
That was at the State Theater?
State Theater, yeah, which I guess is the Fillmore now.
Yep.
Man,
I don't know. My favorite show is at State Theater. That was that Rob Zombie Lacuna Coil show.
Oh,
Monster Magnet.
There we go. There's my favorite show. I'm gonna go with that at Harpo's, seeing White Zombie when they were still out with their first album, and me and the bass player were at State Fairgrounds seeing Sepultura.
Awesome.
And yeah, and we had met those guys way back when they were going around for Beneath the Remains tour.
All right.
And we had opened for them in Sacred Reich and Napalm Death at this little club called Todd's. And we had played there the night before, and then we played with them that night and met Barney from Napalm Death, and he's carrying the cases of beer out of the tour bus, you know. Cool guy. But we ended up at the State Fairgrounds, and we were watching Sepultura and stuff, and the guy saw us, and we were like, hey guys, and we got backstage because we know everybody in the biz around the area.
Yeah.
We're talking to him, and Igor and Max are like, hey, isn't Rob Zombie, you know, in their heavy accent, Rob Zombie playing at Harpo's? You guys know where that is? We're like, we play there all the time, of course. Can you take us? So we threw him in the back of, you know, my bass player's crappy Oldsmobile, and we fly down 94, man, to Harpo's with them in the back. And we go in the back of Harpo's, man. We watched Rob Zombie and White Zombie play and hung out with those guys for a while.
Oh
yeah, that's probably
God.
one of the craziest but best shows, man, getting to watch them from back in the day, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had Max and Igor in the back seat.
They were just in the back.
Holy
right?
Shit, man. That is insane.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
crazy. It was nuts, you know. It just
Max has always been one of my favorite people in metal at all.
Oh yeah.
Like
he's got an open mind. I mean, he can write like nobody's business. He's got some creative genes in him, man. He's just a cool dude.
And
his wife is cool too.
Yeah. And he ignited something down there in South America because today, like now, like doing the Lost in the Dark thing now, I've got like a handful of bands that I talk about on a regular basis that are all relatively new bands. Yeah. All of them from Brazil, South America, all of them heavily influenced by Sepultura. And they're just I've never met Max. I did get to see him once in a tiny little venue that existed for a very short amount of time up in Flint. I can't remember the name of it. It was like Vehicle City something or something like that. I think.
Well, wasn't there one that was like a something to do with baseball, I thought.
Maybe
the outfield. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I know that one.
I know we played at some place in Flint a couple of times. As a matter of fact, a funny story about that is we got to this place in Flint. If I can't remember, I think there might be a state theater up in Flint as well.
There's a Capitol Theater in downtown.
Capitol
Flint.
Theater.
Yeah.
That's it. So we had done some shows up there. So we go up there to do another show, and we were hungry, and we decided to walk a couple blocks away and go to the burger joint, top
Halo Burger. Or
Halo
something.
Burger,
Yeah.
yeah.
'cause
Oh,
it's-
all right.
and we go through. We're such badasses, you know. We got our get ups on for playing on stage and all that, and you know, we go walking through the drive-through, and we give them their, you know, we give them our order through walking through the drive-through. We got cars behind us, and we're walking through. Come up to the window, they're like, "Wait a minute, where's your car?" Like, we're just playing over here at the club, so we don't need.
we
a
really
car.
want a Boston cooler.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's funny. But yeah, man, that was a crazy time. I've got I had them sign some stuff for me too. So I got like Max and Igor and Andre.
God, that's
And I got
crazy.
all their autographs, all the guys from Napalm Death, Sacred Reich. I got like their original flyer. Like I have the old picture disc of Arise.
Oh,
And
Wow.
and so I had that picture disc. I still have it. And then I got a flyer that was put out for Todd's the Marquee, was the club down on 7 Mile. I think it was 7 Mile in Van Dyke area.
okay.
And that's where we first met those guys. And when we first started playing, like I said, we had played one of our first shows like the night before they were there. So, and that was just a great show. When we got to meet all of them and play with them the next night, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. When I mentioned Rob Zombie, because like all the shows I've ever been to are like a blur. It wasn't Lacuna Coil, it was Fear Factory with that Monster
Ooh.
Magnet and Rob Zombie show. Because I know that I was in the pit the whole night.
Yeah.
So, but no, the Lacuna Coil one was a different Rob Zombie show. That was when Bullet for My Valentine backed out. There was some sort of argument that took place, and they backed out of that show at State Theater. So, but no, the State Theater show with Fear Factory, Monster Magnet, and Rob Zombie.
Yeah, thanks.
That was a
Thanks for
killer show.
reminding me. Thanks for reminding me of Rob Halford in that, because one of top 3 shows that we ever did was opening for Fight. Halford
Oh,
and Fight.
wow.
Yeah, at the Ritz. Yeah. We actually brought them to that club. We were the ones to pay them to play, because
Wow.
we knew JJ, the bass player from the band at the time was Satanic Industries he played for, and he got picked up to do Fight. And so we got to meet all those guys and play. We actually opened for Fight in Detroit, and that was insane. That was so awesome. And we're just hanging out in the back parking lot, just yapping with everybody. But we knew the guys that made up the band Fight, not Rob Halford and the drummer. I don't even remember his name. The dude from Nitro,
Okay.
I think, is where the band he came from. Great drummer. But the guys that actually, the bass player and the guitar players, they were part of a band that we met in Minneapolis. They were called Cromlech.
Okay.
And you can find their old CD on YouTube. I found it the other day because I had the tape. They gave me the tape. But man, we went to Minnesota and we got to meet Prince, and
Whoa.
yeah, because we played at his club, the Mirage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was us opening for Cromlech, which was the local favorite. And but yeah, the guys that made up that band, minus the drummer, minus the singer, the guitar player, and the bass player, went to Fight and wrote songs. And yeah, we got to open for them, and man, that was one of my top 3. I mean, we played with so many bands. I mean, we played with Dio up north.
That's
so it's hard for me
unbelievable.
to say like what would be the best thing, because man, meeting Dio, little dude, Prince was a little dude too.
Mm-hmm.
But Dio was just straight up cool. And we played at a ski lodge up in the middle of nowhere up there, and it was hot. It was summertime. We were covered in DEET. I remember, because the bugs were, they would carry away small children at night. I mean, it was nuts. And we were like, this is going to be a horrible show. What is Dio doing playing up here? And, we set up all of our gear, and right in the middle of this quote unquote stage in this ski lodge was this big pillar. I'm like, oh
God,
man, somebody's going to go into this. And then there was the fireplace in the middle. I'm like, nobody's going to be here. This is horrible. And sure as shit, before we go on, man, people just crawled out of the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, they just came and packed that place. It was so damn hot. And then, of course, we're wearing, well, at least I was, because I didn't want to get tore up by mosquitoes, which didn't matter. But here we bought like this industrial grade DEET. I think it was illegal to have it. It was like 100% DEET. And I had it all over, and get up there on the stage, and it's got to be 100 degrees up there with the lights and high humidity, Michigan summer, up in the UP, and the sweat started running, and that shit hit my eyes. I did not see that whole show. I played the whole show with my eyes closed because it was so painful. I was just but that was crazy. That was absolutely nuts. That had to be one of the craziest things where we played. And just, I don't know. And there was so much. But yeah.
All right. That's amazing. Michelle, what is so being from the side of a fan, what's your favorite show you've probably ever seen?
Or if we're talking about like the concerts, I'm telling you, the Rob Zombie Monster Magnet Fear Factory was my favorite
at the
film. But I'm telling you that a lot of the shows at Harpo's, the Dio shows, Wasp. So Wasp would even put on a heck of a show. In fact, it's funny that Dio came up. So because I know that Jordan's going to listen to this show, so I got to give a shout out to
Jordan.
I got to give my shout out to Jordan. But the funniest story, he starts walking into class the other day, and he goes, "I heard the show," and I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "So the girl couldn't put her shirt down at the Dio concert, huh?"
With the fake boobs. Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, I'm like, oh, okay. Let's go deal with some poetry now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So, but yeah, I mean, I've seen so many concerts in my life that, I mean, it's hard to narrow down to my top 3.
Fair enough.
It really is. I mean, I've met a lot of musicians along the way. Speaking of Halford, met him, and it just happened to be, I got up to turn around at Harpo's, and one of the guys from the Riff just right in my face, he's like, "Here's a couple backstage passes to go meet the band." And it's like, what a perfect time to get up and turn around.
Yeah.
And so, got a chance to meet Halford. Oh geez. Like I said, the one time meeting Spider, God, I don't know. Let's see. Another really good experience. It was Rat opening up for Vince Neil.
Oh, wow.
And one of my former students, and I mean, this was probably within my first 6 years of teaching, I was sitting at my desk, and the kid comes up and smacks the outer glass window, scared the mess out of me. And his dad was a bouncer and was actually good friends with Bobby Blotzer.
Oh.
And so, this kid, Jake, he's like, "You've got backstage passes at Will Call."
Oh, wow.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So here I am backstage at DTE, hanging out with John Corabi, Bobby Blotzer, The singer that they had for Rat at the time, he was kind of like off to the side doing his own thing. And of course, Vince Neil, skirted out of there on his motorcycle after the show. But just getting a chance to talk with John Corabi and with Bobby Blotzer, that was an amazing night for me.
That's incredible. That is absolutely, yeah, that's insane. Wow. Wayne, what would you say? This is something I'm always curious about because I've only ever seen one show outside of Michigan. Playing shows. What's your favorite state to play in? I guess what was?
Oh,
like, was it very much different in each state?
yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oddly enough, I'm gonna say Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I have heard some things actually about Pennsylvania crowds.
Yeah, it was one of our first experiences playing out of state, and then there, Toledo and all that. But yeah, I want to say Erie, Pennsylvania, because we went to Erie, and it was eerie when we got there. It was like we got all our gear loaded up in our little touring little van, and we get there. And like, what is this? Just the ancient houses and the downtown, like, oh my God, where are we? Are we going to hear music from Deliverance? What's going on here? Like we were in the Appalachians or something like that.
You're in bat country.
Yeah. But again, it was one of those things. Well, what had happened was our CD, we sent out our CD. This was back in the day where you would, box up, get a bubble envelope, and you would find out the names of people at college radio stations and all of this stuff. And you would send out your CDs to see if they would listen to them and maybe they would play a song. Well, we got invited to come to Erie, Pennsylvania and play because we were told the college kids down there were requesting our music on the college radio station. We're like, what? Get out of here. So we go there and we set up our gear on this stage that is not any big. I mean, it was like milk, and I'm not kidding. It was milk cartons with plywood put on top of them.
Okay.
And we barely could get everything on the stage, and this place was small. And the sound guy was there, and it was a bunch of old timers sitting around telling war stories, and we're setting up stuff, and he's like, okay, let's do sound check. And I'm like, really? Like, well, let's play a song, so we start playing a song and, getting kind of the looks from the people sitting up at the bar, and that's some pretty loud music you guys are playing there, all this, the funny old man comments and stuff. And I looked at the sound guy, I said, are we really supposed to be here? He's like, you guys are Subsidence, right? Yeah, you guys are playing tonight. You guys are the headliners. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. So the guy from the college station ends up showing up. So, of course, we do a tour of Erie. We go all over the place and look at things and cause trouble because, guys walking around with long hair and mohawks and wearing deicide shirts and upside down crosses and stuff. Don't really, kind of standing out. The sun goes down and the freaks come out. And we came back. So we went and we kind of crashed. We had dinner. We kind of crashed at the hotel room for a little while. I think we might have even fallen asleep for a minute. We get back in the van. We head to the club, and there is a line of kids out the door. They're lying down the block and around the corner. Like, who the hell do these guys think they're seeing? Right? We're like, what is this shit? And we get out of the van, and people are like, hey, will you sign this? Will you sign? I'm like, what?
Wow.
It was like a crazy experience. Like, what the hell is going on? Because we didn't get treated like this in Detroit.
Right.
It's like, what is going on? And then we run into the guy that was running the radio station at the college. He's like, you guys aren't going to believe this, but your songs are more requested than Metallica.
Wow.
I'm like, what? Get out of here. no, man, like people are asking for lesson in brutality and hanging by a thread all the time. Like, what? It was just and they couldn't fit them all into this little club.
Was that during the
Wow.
Napster days?
No, the album was out. The album had come out, and they were listening. That was when they could call in and they would request.
No, I was
over-
saying the request more than Metallica. Was that
Oh.
during the Napster days?
Maybe that might have been. Yeah, you know what? That might have been the time where Lars was pissing everybody off with his stuff. You know, and man, that was crazy. And I think Erie would probably always be, besides Minneapolis, man. It was probably the best. Those two places were probably the best to go. All
That's
the places
awesome.
we've been, yeah.
It's so now maybe it's well, I guess now it's really not that much easier because when I started this podcast, I was under the impression that nobody was listening to it. I was like, nobody hears this. Like we can say and do whatever we want. And
Right.
then I again shout out to Jordan. I randomly talk about a kid I saw in a mosh pit, and he writes me. I'm like, what? Like this is insane. Like
Well, he
had
was,
no
you know,
idea.
like Michelle was saying, you know, he was having a fit that, you know, you guys were coming on our podcast.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wait a minute. What?
And I told him that we were going to be on yours. So he's like, really? so
So Jordan,
will-
this one's for you,
he
buddy.
will
Yeah,
be
buddy.
listening. And I just a small world, you know, I grew up with his one aunt who's,
Oh,
you know, been
wow.
a friend of mine since middle school. So again, that 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah,
It's
everybody knows.
insane.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Kevin Bacon.
Right?
Yep.
Synchronicity. And actually kind of going off that, because listening through all of your episodes, you talk about you seem to be finding this commonality with the month of March.
Yeah.
And you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys had your sighting in March of 2018, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. March 9th.
March 9th, 2018.
Yep.
Oh, wow. I would have to double check how that week lines up back in that year. But it was the first week of March of 2018 where we posted our first episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I was listening to your
It's
most
so
recent
crazy.
episode earlier, and that popped into my head. I was like, you got to be kidding. Hang on. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's when we started. Like absolutely insane. And actually here, now that I'm back in my normal studio area, you guys can see I have that hanging up at all
Yep.
times.
I had that same poster, Slayer, Rain and Blood, and then
Well, no,
you
I'm
got
talking about
the,
the I
right
Want to
next to it.
Believe.
Yeah,
Yep.
the old X-Files
Box
video
mold.
or poster. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. So Michelle, what where was your now both of you like were born and raised in Michigan, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Michelle, where was your favorite venue to see a concert?
Oh, geez.
I know that's kind of a
I-
tough one too.
Honestly, my favorite place to see a show is the original Ritz in Roseville.
Okay.
So aside from that, probably Harpo's.
Yeah.
So because it was very up close and personal. I know
Yes.
one of the second time I saw King Diamond, I mean, I'm right there at the base of the stage and he hands me a rose. I don't know how much more, up close and personal you
Right.
can get
Yeah.
when you've got, the lead singer from
King Diamond himself.
handing you a flower from
The king. Yeah.
the king handing you a flower from the stage. So yeah, I would say that those are probably my two favorite spots to see shows. I mean, any of the other ones as far as like, Pine Knob
Yes.
/ DTE.
We call it
Palace-
Pine Knob here.
yeah, I was gonna say Pine Knob, Party on the Hill, of course, but it was
Yes.
always better if you got seats. The sound, it
Yeah.
always depended on the band or whatever. So the smaller venues for me, just the sound was always better.
Yes. Pine Knob sound has gotten better in the last, well, I don't know, in the last few years that I've gone, I've noticed a definite, I think they like redid their sound system or something. It sounds
Thank
a
God.
lot better. And it is, hopeful. I read there's a Facebook group for like Detroit metal or Detroit hard rock venues or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm in that Facebook group, and I saw a post recently saying that someone had driven by Harpo's and saw that there's work being done to it.
Wow.
And most of the time, most of my experience at Harpo's is when it was in pretty much disarray. But within the last, since like 2018-ish, it's really been slowly getting better to the point where they actually have like the disco floor turned back on for a lot of shows, which for years and years that was just off. And so it is hopeful that work is being done to it, as opposed to, due to pandemic, us finding out it's never reopening.
I was gonna say that the disco. You had to mention the disco floor, yeah, because that was the signature staple, or their what was it? The Harpo, like almost like a headbanger. It was whatever drink that they had there that was known just for Harpos, and it was like everything, every well mixer was all in one glass. I mean, but if your feet didn't stick to the floor,
yes.
you weren't at Harpo's.
Yes.
With the no stage diving sign, and just that ultimate sound of
and the chain being let go from the doors. You knew that it was time. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I've seen a lot of great stuff there, and that's a great venue. I love that place, and I miss it terribly.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? One of we go back to shows. One of the shows I saw there, because you brought up Static X, it was Static X and Power Man.
Okay.
Harpo's oversold the show.
Yeah, I've been to a couple oversold Harpo shows. Yeah.
Yeah, and that place was crazy, but that was a killer show.
Yeah. They Hatebreed has only ever themselves released one live recording, and it was Live Dominance filmed at Harpo's. And but the show was like a $5 show. They made it super cheap so they could pack the house. Killer lineup. But the thing about it was, like, the show was on one date, but then for some reason it had to get postponed or something. So like they ended up like having a bunch of tickets returned, but then selling a whole bunch more. And like, it was totally over capacity, and the ceiling was sweating, like it was.
You mean the asbestos was dripping on you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it was epic. It was an incredible, it was a show I'll never forget. Definitely. I love that place. Yeah. And I cannot wait to get back. Cannot wait to get back to shows.
That'd be cool if they come back. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, fingers crossed. I'll be back at Pine Knob in September. Hopefully, as long as everything reopens the way they're saying it's going to. Yeah, that's.
I was gonna say, because the shows are lining up. I know I've already been trying to win tickets for Evanescence.
Yeah.
And Hailstorm from the Rift.
Oh, Hailstorm is incredible. I love Hailstorm. Especially, I saw Hailstorm open for Alice Cooper a couple summers ago. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I saw Alice Cooper's coming back around.
Yeah. Oh, well, he has a new album out this year called Detroit Stories. It's great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I saw that farewell show that Alice Cooper did with Motley Crue.
Oh, cool.
So, and I've got to be honest on this one. Cooper blew Crue out of the water that show.
I have seen Vince Neil alone, and I've seen Motley Crue once, I believe. And both times I was very underwhelmed by Vince Neil's performance.
It always depended on where he played, because again, I've seen him a lot of times solo, and then a lot of times with the Crew. But that particular show, Alice did an amazing job. The sound was phenomenal, and that was at the Palace.
Oh God, yes, I missed the Palace.
Yeah,
it broke my heart when I watched that Demolition video.
I couldn't watch that Demolition video. I used to work out. I did a gig out there bartending. Oh, wow. So that was kind of like part of my heart being ripped out.
Yeah, it's the first place I ever saw Iron Maiden. Yeah, I missed that. I saw so many amazing shows there. Um, yeah, we've definitely lost some good ones, that's for sure. But Harpo still stands, and so does the State Theater. And the
Yeah.
State Theater is more gorgeous now than ever. They recently refurbished it, and it's absolutely stunning.
Oh,
Like,
the
all the-
architecture in there was
Oh
gorgeous.
my
Even the
God.
last time I was there.
Yeah.
And so they basically refurbished it to like take away all like, because for years and years and years, everybody could, smoke cigarettes and stuff in there. So they
Yep.
basically just brought it back to its original glory, and it's unbelievable. It really is nice.
The magic stick or the magic bag still around?
Magic stick,
We
the magic
played
stick
there.
and the majestic.
Majestic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played there. That was crazy. The Majestic Theater.
I love the
I'm
majestic.
trying to think of
Yeah.
another one. I don't know if it was Ferndale or Royal Oak. There was another one out that way.
Well, there is a Royal Oak Theater. I've
Yeah.
seen Steel Panther at quite a few times actually.
Yeah, it wasn't Royal Oak. Man, I can't remember the name of it, and saw a few shows there too. Because I think one of the last ones I saw there was Mudvayne.
Okay.
So, but
Nice.
that was a while ago.
Phenomenal. That's there are definitely yeah, I'm definitely gonna have you guys back on or something, because there's definitely more about music that I want to talk to you about. But I feel like we should probably get into the paranormal. We have been going for a bit. I'm curious because I don't know if I can't remember if I've heard it on an episode yet or not, but I know you guys okay, so you had this crazy UFO sighting in 2018 together. But what do you have? What is your history with the paranormal? Is that what the catalyst was to get you into it in general, or had you either of you had experiences prior of any kind of paranormal?
I mean, besides hearing like voices and sounds in the tunnels of Eloise.
Shut up! You've been there.
They have the tunnels sealed up, but back when I was a teenager, you still had access.
Well,
to the tunnels.
Yeah, you had access, but we're not gonna say that it was not something legal.
Probably.
So,
it was
Right.
not legal to go in there at the time.
Well, they didn't say it wasn't legal,
But it wasn't legal either.
Right.
It was
So,
So
teenagers being teenagers.
you used to go
The whole
explore
band
that
went in
place,
yeah.
or like the tunnels and stuff. Okay, so my family all kind of lived all around the greater Detroit area, but my parents met each other in a big bad way because both sides kind of were around the corner from each other in Taylor.
Okay.
And so that's kind of like that growing up, that's where both my grandma houses were right around the corner from each other in Taylor and stuff. Spent tons of time there, and that's where my dad and all of his uncles and my aunts and uncles from the other side and everything grew up. And my the uncle that's closest in age to me, he I'll never forget this story. He tells me a story about going to the Eloise Asylum with a group of friends, and this is the 90s, so they have like a big chunky video camera, and one of his buddies is filming. And they kind of like get in like a little bit or something, and but they're still kind of on the outside chilling, and someone on a bicycle comes up to them and starts talking to them and goes, well, I actually used to work here. I could show you guys around. I could give you a tour if you want it. And they're like, yeah, let's do that. So he takes them around, shows them all the creepy parts of the morgue, the boiler room, all this stuff. They're standing around like in circles, asking them questions. The camera's panning and they're talking to them and everything. So then they're they pretty much go through the whole place. They wrap up, they're done. They separate, everybody goes home. My uncle's buddy drops him off at grandma's house. And I guess my uncle is in the kitchen, like making a sandwich or something. And he gets a phone call from his buddy with the video camera. He's like, dude, come over here right now. I was like, dude, I'm making a sandwich. No, come over here right now. I need to show you this tape. Comes over, watches it. And the guy that gave them the tour never appears on the tape. and there's literally like people asking him questions. So the camera will be on the person asking the question, and then it goes to that guy for the answer, and there's nobody standing there. And there's no nothing, there's no
That's
voice,
crazy.
there's nothing.
That beats my tunnel stories.
Yeah.
And I grew up, I mean, to where I could have walked to Eloise.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
wild.
when I was in Subsidence, we had gone through there and went into the tunnels, and probably one of the first creepy experiences like that I ever had, which was, I guess paranormal at that time, was we were in the tunnels and trying to find our way around and stuff, and shine a light. I think we had little flashlights, maybe a lighter at the time, but shining a light, we could hear something down one of the hallways.
Uh-huh.
And we were worried that it might have been some security people or something that were up on, because we had saw some security people on the grounds,
Uh-huh.
and we kind of, avoided them. And we got into the tunnels, and I remember going through that place. It was just crazy. The what was going, the pool and all that was destroyed, and graffiti everywhere and everything. And we get into the tunnels, and I hear this noise coming down. I was thinking maybe it was rats or something coming toward us, and shining the light, and I could just see the outline of this smoky figure. It was a male figure, tall, probably about 6 feet, and it was rushing us. And I was like, Chris, dude, look. And as he turns and looks, the thing gets maybe 2 arm lengths away, and I'm getting ready to brace myself, like getting ready to fight or whatever. He's like, oh my God. And it just dissipated.
Wow.
Just right in front of us, just gone. It was like a smoky figure. And that was the first time I had ever really seen anything like that or whatever. And then that was really it. That was when the whole band actually, we kind of went in there and looked around.
Yeah,
So,
my only other thing is that we used to do the Denton Road drive at like anywhere from
Oh.
midnight to 2 a.m.
Yeah, I know
It's like,
about
okay,
that.
let's get to the bridge. Let's see if we can hear the lady. Is the car going to stop, or the light's going to hit the top of the
Yeah.
car? So that was our thing. I mean, I think that we spent most of our teenage years trying to scare each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So would either of you say that you had a particular interest in the paranormal prior to your 2018 experience? Or was it just
I'm
kind
gonna
of
say
like
that
I
I've
had a couple-
always I've always loved like scary stories and horror stories and things of that sort. So, I mean, that's always been a genre that I've loved to personally read. So, I don't know if that made me, open to starting a podcast
Mhm.
and the interest in it. So, but I would say as far as like the scene is believing, no, that March 2018 hit it for me when
Yeah.
when I saw that triangle
Yeah.
figuration in, up in the air over 275 and Ford Road, because after seeing all kinds of different aircraft, even as being like what do I want to say, like a baby to it all, like absolute amateur, and seeing that and not being able to explain it. So
Yeah, I grew up with kind of an interest in it. I mean, the paranormal kind of goes along with the whole heavy metal thing. I mean, especially when I started to get into like Merciful Fate and King Diamond and learning about the occult and all that through like his music, 18 is actually 9. And then I find out that's numerology. The little circles on his face are actually 666. What is all this stuff? So when I was younger, I did do a lot of reading and mythology, studying the occult, things like that. Was married to a woman who, my first wife, she was a legit witch. So kind of, not that I was into that stuff, but I knew about it. I read the books and, but nothing had ever happened that I could say that was paranormal before 2018 like this, other than I did have one crazy experience when I was living in Howell. I walked in my door and I had a pit bull dog, and she was a great dog, great family dog, perfect. And we were living in this house, and I'm standing and I'm looking down this hallway. It goes into our kitchen. To the right was our living room, and then to the left was an archway with a door, or with a staircase that went up to the second floor. And we had a baby gate. Now none of the kids were still babies; they were going up and down the stairs, but we didn't want the dogs going upstairs, so we would leave that baby gate up in front of the stairs, and the dog never really liked the baby gate, so she never went upstairs and tore anything up or did anything. She stayed downstairs. Well, I came home one day, and the baby gate, we just laid it on the floor in front of the stairs, and it was like, as long as it was there, the dog didn't care. I walk in, and the dog's growling, which she never did, and she was in that kitchen area down the hallway, and she kind of peeks her head around the corner, and I can see her fur is all standing up, and she's growling. I'm like, why are you growling at me? What's wrong? I'm like, great. She's a pit bull. She's lost her mind. I'm going to, be fighting this dog or whatever. I'm going to get ready to run. And, she's just growling and growling. I look at her closely, and she's not looking at me. She's looking at that baby gate. And I'm like, what? I said, I'm looking at the baby gate. It was just me and the dog in the house. And I'm like, it's just the baby gate, it's been here. What's your problem? And she started to take a couple steps toward me. And and she's a good, I don't know, 15 feet away from me, still eyeballing this gate. And the gate stands up and slides down the hallway at the dog. And she starts yiping and takes off running and just cowers in the corner as the gate slides down the hallway and flops over. I was like, what the hell just happened? I turned around, walked back out the front door, which was right behind me, shut the door, and was like, I'm just going away for a while. I couldn't even process what had just happened. And then it was like, ever since then, which this would have happened around the birth of my second daughter. And when my daughter was born, my second daughter, there was, at the hospital, we found out that there was a woman who died at the exact same time, old lady, that died when my middle child was born at the same time, in basically the room underneath the birthing room. Wow. Where my daughter was. And ever since that happened, things in the house, like my ex-wife at the time heard a voice that kind of talked to right behind her head, called her name, and she's looking at me like, did you just say my name? I'm like, no. She goes, well, it definitely didn't sound like you, because it sounded like a woman's voice. I'm sitting back here on the couch reading a book. You're up sitting in the lazy boy by the TV. I didn't say anything. I didn't hear anything. She goes, I heard it. Okay, if you say so. And then the baby monitor, we would listen to the Abigail, which is funny because I named her after the King Diamond album.
Nice.
And we could hear her giggling as a baby, and you could hear an old lady's voice in that monitor every once in a while.
What?
Yeah. And she would play, go up there. I'd go running up there and be like, oh my God, what's going on? And she would be standing up in her crib, giggling and, reaching her hand out, and there's nobody there, but you could hear the voice, and so that, that was kind of creepy and crazy. But then, these things didn't happen all the time. It was just like every so often, something weird would happen, but I didn't think anything of it. Every once in a while I'd watch Ghost Hunters on TV if there was nothing to watch, or I don't know, the one with Bilbo Baggins or whatever his name is.
Zach Baggins.
Zach Baggins, right? He's a big dude. I shouldn't say that. You might want to fight
Bring
me
the
or
Hobbit
something.
into it.
Yeah. Yeah. J.R. Tolkien showed up. He wants his last name back. um, um, yeah. So, X-Files, I was into sci-fi. I mean,
Well,
but-
I would describe those two experiences as fairly extraordinary. You're hearing disembodied voices through a baby monitor. You're
Yep.
actually seeing things move on their own.
but it wasn't all the time,
right,
so
right.
it was like easy
And-
to dismiss, right?
and-
like,
And when these things happened, with the first one with the gate moving,
Yeah.
you said you had to get out of the house. When these things happened, did you have like an overwhelming sense of dread or anything like that, or was it just kind of like, oh,
Mm-mm.
that was weird?
Yeah, it was more of, when that baby gate went sailing down the hallway there, it was holy crap, I'm out of here. That it was
Okay.
the fight or flight, and it was
Okay.
definitely flight. And I was just like, I'm out. Boom. And I went out the front door and locked the front door, and I went away for a while. And I can't say it was dread. I know some people say, well, the area will get cold if there's a ghost or something or whatever, all of this stuff. Never noticed anything like that, even with the voices, so it was like,
it just wasn't okay, fair enough.
Yeah. And in my mind, I'm sure I was just blocking it,
and that is entirely possible. And is all this centralized to the Howell location?
For that, yeah. For
Did
that
any
stuff, it was.
So after you leave the Howell area, do you think anything follows you? Do you continue to have any kind of experience?
Not with me. My daughter did, though. My oldest daughter, when they were living in still living in Howell with their mother, she actually got a video of a black orb because she noticed she's filming her kitten. She had just gotten her kitten, and she's filming the kitten on the bed playing around, and you see the kitten just stops dead in its tracks and looks over and starts to make its way toward the end of the bed. And when she moves her phone camera over, there's this black shadowy orb that goes down off of her bed and down and goes on the floor and disappears. And she films it. And she had sent it to me. She's like, oh my God, do you believe this? I think it was that land. There's something on that land in that area. It was by Lake Chemung in Howell. And it was very strange. I think I still have that video. If not, I know she does. She could send it to me. But you can plainly see that it's a orb that is just black. And it just goes right across the bed and onto the floor. Just crazy.
I mean, and
the cat's reacting to it.
That's interesting. Yeah. That's extra interesting. Then that's extra interesting. That's like much like the poster I have here. That's my sentiment when we talked about on your guys' episode is I come into this stuff really wanting to believe and fascinated by it, wanting to understand it. And I do go out to a lot of locations and try to research and stuff like that. And the only time I've ever seen anything move on its own, I've never seen a door open or anything like that. But one of the first, way back before I even knew that being able to get a ticket to get locked into a location overnight or whatever was an option. I didn't even know that was a thing. I had a buddy at that point in time whose aunt and uncle was really into this stuff. And as a matter of fact, they were a part of the, one of them, the Metro Paranormal Investigators, MPI, something down there in the Detroit area. And they were part of the group that put on the haunted tours of Fort Wayne. Yeah. And
that's funny, dude. Cause Fort Wayne was when I was part of a paramilitary unit here in Michigan, not too many years ago. And I know they're still around. They're called the Michigan Volunteer Defense Force.
Okay.
And it's all a bunch of retired military guys and things like that we do training and stuff for being a second responders. And our base of operations was historic Fort Wayne. That's where we would. Yeah. So I actually got pictures. And what's really weird that you mentioned that, here's that synchronicity stuff. one of the days we were doing drills and stuff down there and doing training, on the other side of Fort Wayne were Civil War reenactors. And they came over to our side of the base and we all had lunch together, and they wanted to do a formation march and assembly with the two, us and our modern day unit, our gear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then them in the old,
Yeah.
I mean, they have legitimate old Civil War clothing and stuff that they were into. And I got some pictures somewhere. I'll send them to you on Facebook.
Yeah, those would
You
be
can
awesome
check them out,
pictures.
dude. But it's just like where two worlds collide.
Yeah,
It's
yes.
like really weird. And you bring up,
Especially
historic
in
Fort
that
Wayne.
location.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's-
never knew that place was a location for paranormal activity or anything like that.
That is the want to say that's the only place like where you can like get a ticket and go to that I've been to twice. And both times I've had pretty wild experiences. And the first time, like you go around the whole place and it's all fairly like, run down, old looking. There's a couple like, nicer kept up spots or whatever. And then you go into the part that you think is going to be like the creepiest, the jail. And it's like the most brightly lit. Everything's freshly painted. It looks like really nice, like touristy, a good museum spot, like a nice area to check out. And they had all the doors and everything open, and they had the door open to like the furnace room. So it looked like a Michigan furnace or Michigan basement, everything's concrete. Just looks like a normal Michigan kind of basement room or whatever with a furnace in it. And so I there's like a chair sitting in the middle of the room. I sit down in the chair. Furnace is kind of like in the middle of the room to my right. And then to my left along the wall, there's like this long desk with a drawer slightly open on it. And there's a can of Diet Coke on top of the desk, just sitting there, right kind of near the edge to where the drawer is. And there's like a chalkboard right in front of me with chalk, but it's like on the floor. And so I'm just kind of sitting there. I don't even have any equipment at this point. This is literally like the first time I've ever done anything like this. And I'm just kind of sitting there like I'm alone, or no, I'm not alone in there. I had my girlfriend at the time was in there with me, and everybody else is out in the main like jail area. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like being like, hey, if there's anything in here with us, like, write something on the chalkboard or something. Kind of doing that kind of doing an EVP thing without even having a recorder. I think I had a flip phone at the time. Like, this was like 2008, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there. There is absolutely no breeze or anything going through the room. And I'm sitting there looking at the chalkboard, and within my field of view, I have the desk to the left. I watched that Diet Coke can get lifted up just a few inches and then like placed into the open drawer that was right underneath. Like it didn't fall. It wasn't knocked. Wow. Like it was lifted and placed like a few inches away as I'm sitting there trying to communicate with something. And that's the only time I've ever seen anything move on its own that I can. We did investigate the Dundee Mill once, and we might have seen some glow sticks rolling around on the floor in the basement, but I kind of question if that was my eyes playing tricks on me, honestly.
Oh yeah.
But because everything was pitch black, so it could be easy to like think something's rolling back and forth slightly when it's not.
Here's a strange connection for you too. When we first formed Sightings, and we met the drummer, and we used his house to start rehearsals and writing songs down in his basement. His house was about a block and a half away from historic Fort Wayne. You could go out on the front lawn. It was in Delray, and you could
That's
look
where my
down.
grandma grew up. Yeah,
you could look down and you could see historic Fort Wayne, because I used to drive from Shelby Township and down to I-94 in Livernois and get off right there, and then swing around the block, and his house was right there. And that's where we would play all the time. And there was historic Fort Wayne right there. So everything just kind of goes full circle constantly.
Oh man.
I'll tell you.
I have to ask this then, because it was actually because I was a little bit worried about whether or not this podcast was going to happen earlier because I saw your post on Facebook saying that you guys had lost power earlier. I was like, oh no!
I
Oh
was
wow!
gonna say,
Yeah, twice.
oh, that's normal for out here too.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, I guess the equipment.
If there's
out
any
here is
weather,
pretty trash.
yeah. But it's actually funny because there is so my whole family is from like the greater Detroit area, both sides actually. And then, over years, like my intermediate family, we moved up to the Lansing area. My cousin Preston, who's like the co-founder, he founded the podcast with me, still does like all of our anything like thumbnail wise or graphic or intro or outro or anything like music or anything like that. He does all that. Him and his family moved to like the greater Flint area. But there is this one restaurant in Detroit, which is just our app. Like it's heaven to us. It's our favorite restaurant on earth. We were actually, normally when we go to a concert in Detroit, it's our traditional, we go to this restaurant after. For the last year, obviously we've had no concerts. So we've just been making trips to Detroit to go to this place, even if it's just carry out. I have to ask if either of you have ever heard of it. My family has been going there actually since like the late 60s, early 70s. It's in Mexican Town, so literally right across the freeway from Fort Wayne in Delray. It's a restaurant on off of Vernon called Armando's, a Mexican restaurant. You guys ever heard of that place?
No, can't say that I have. I was putting my money. You were gonna say Green Dot.
Nope. Oh no. We actually recently got a Green Dot up here.
There's because there's one up in Lansing too, a Green Dot.
And I've been to both. I've been to both. The one in Detroit is way better, for the record. But no, it's a Mexican restaurant called Armando's, right off of Vernon there in downtown Mexican Town. And we were actually the reason why I bring it up is because we were going to go there we were going to go there yesterday, and right as I'm getting ready to go meet my cousin out, and he still lives out in the Flint area in Burton, Michigan. My name's Burton. He lives in Burton, Michigan. He texts me social media posts that they had made saying they're out of power and they were going to be closed for the rest of the day because they didn't have any power. And I was like, no, I can't get my tacos.
I was going to say, and weather-wise, yesterday there wasn't anything going on. And it's like today when I got the text from Wayne while I was at work, he's like, you're going to have to call them. And I'm like, number one, what can I do from work? And number two,
right.
It's like, it's just rain. How?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. There's no fun there. We didn't get any storms up here or anything.
And then last night we had lost internet like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, this is just perfect.
Oh, bizarre.
Yeah, that was
started to line things.
That was more frustrating than anything else.
Well, when I saw your post earlier about the power outage, I was like, I don't think they're getting any storms right now. These damn UFOs are trying to stop us from having this podcast.
Well, now we're definitely on the radar because we had Terry Lovelace on.
Oh, on your most recent episode.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I am beyond ecstatic for you guys. You're on episode 6, and myself not included, but you haven't had some amazing guests on. It's like some of the people you've already had on in your first 10 episodes, and just how great everything sounds. Like that was one thing when I started this podcast. One of the reasons why I was able to kind of like get over like starting it and putting it out is I went back to my favorite podcast that I listened to. I would go back to episode 1 and be like, where did these guys start? And like
they're horrible.
Oh my God. Episode 1 of Joe Rogan, like the first half hour is an up close shot of his forehead and him trying to figure out if the webcam's on.
Right.
That's the first half hour of the Joe Rogan Experience, everybody. So like when I saw that, I was like, okay, like
I can do this.
Yeah.
If Joe Rogan's doing that, I can do this. Well, this was an accident. I mean, this was not something you ever thought I was gonna do, or Michelle?
No, I
This
didn't
is,
think I was going to do it. My 14-year-old still laughs. It's why a lot of times I can't even share links on my Facebook because she'll go on there and like laugh at the post. I'm like, I'm just not dealing with you right now. So, but
typical angsty teenage daughter.
then like I'll get one of my students in the back of the room. He'll pull his phone out and go, "Is this your podcast?" And
Yeah.
sure enough, I can
Yeah.
see the artwork from, the front of the room. And I'm like, yeah. And, I've got like kids sitting in class going, "You guys need to check this podcast out. It's really good."
But speaking of that artwork, that credit goes to my middle child that I was just telling you about, hearing the disembodied voices and stuff when she was a baby. She did all the artwork. She's a graphic artist.
Oh,
and
that's
she does
awesome.
all that stuff on her computer. Yeah.
I was actually going to ask who did the artwork. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You guys have had some amazing guests already. It's just so exciting. You guys now, so you started the podcast in 2020, right? Yeah, in 2020.
No.
No, 2021.
Yeah.
What month?
I was just looking at that. Actually,
was it March?
Almost. February 28th was when we published our first one.
So the last day of February.
Yeah,
that's
so close enough. It's March.
Because I was looking, but our episode right after that was about the Ann Arbor UFO sightings in 1966, and that was on March 14th.
There you go.
So yeah.
So it takes so you have this experience in 2018. It then takes you almost 3 years to decide to start a podcast. So what made you decide to get it rolling?
Well, we listen to a lot of different podcasts.
Okay.
We listen to, Joe Rogan. We had listened to Brohio. I would love to listen to Brohio.
Yeah. They're just crazy dudes from Ohio.
Nice.
So, but kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know, like,
I got a bug up my butt to want to do. Well, here's what kind of went down was we saw the triangle when we were heading home really late at night, 2:30 in the morning, roughly, on Ford Road, heading west to get onto 275 South to come back home down here to lovely New Boston.
And you're leaving from Bingo, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were hanging with our old peeps, trying to win some money.
Be careful of that word.
Yeah. Yeah. I got my AARP card. So, thanks for signing me up, honey. By the way. Oh, but, so yeah, we're getting ready to get on to 275 South, and here's this huge, it was the size of a box store floating in the air with 3 lights shining down, but they weren't really illuminating anything down on the ground. And the light that was coming up from the ground, from the street lights and things like that, were shining on it. And the only thing I can tell what it was, that there was some kind of structure there, but it was almost like it was translucent, but you couldn't see through it. So if anything, I would say maybe it looked something like maybe glass, like obsidian or something like that, but it was like predator-ish. Yeah, it had that feel where it was almost like it was absorbing the light coming from the ground. And I could just see this faint outline. Now, Michelle was in the passenger seat and I was driving my Jeep. So she got some better views of it once I got onto the expressway, and she got to see kind of the back part of it where she saw like these red lights, I think on the back side of it. Isn't that what you said?
On the back end.
Yeah. So, on the back, I'm assuming it was the back because the apex of the triangle, what had happened is that it's kind of floating along the road there. And then as we merged and did that Michigan U-turn thing to get onto 275, the thing rotated, on its axis. It didn't bank. It didn't, it just turned and pointed south. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like if you took a car.
Pizza.
Yeah, or pizza and turned
just rotated it. Yeah.
It just rotated. Yeah. And when I first saw the thing, I was like, no way. What the hell is that? And Michelle's response to me was, well, if that's something our military has, when did they get that? Or something along those lines.
Right.
And I was like, that is no military aircraft that I've ever seen. And the thing was ridiculously big. And the lights, they were not landing lights. You know, I've been through piloting school. I grew up around airplanes my whole life. I know what landing lights look like. I've been doing simulators my whole life since I was a kid on aircraft. I took you name it. I've been around an airport. My dad's a retired United airline pilot. I've been on all kinds of airlines and planes, and he would rent planes and we would fly. He owned his own plane. So I've been around aviation my whole life.
And what branch of the military were you in, real quick?
I was in the Army.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah. So I was an airborne grunt. I was, air assault and then a paratrooper. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I jumped out of perfectly good aircraft, which is not the smartest thing to do. But yeah, my main job was as a tank killer. So I was a heavy weapons guy. And so anyways, so we're driving down 275 and I'm trying to look for this thing, but I'm also doing like 80 miles an hour. Like, I really don't want to be here around this thing. I did not get a good vibe at all. So it was, let's get out of here. And I lost sight of it. We go down, there's a retention wall there, and you kind of go down a little bit and this wall is up. It's, sound abatement and all that stuff. And you can see the craft is just going parallel with us. We go down, lose sight of it. When we pop up, it's gone. Just gone. I mean, this huge thing, it was gone. No 3 lights on each corner or each angle, nothing. Just gone. And I was like, no. So we ended up coming home. I think it was like 3 or 4 days later, wasn't it?
No, well, I thought it was the next day that you contacted MUFON.
Oh yeah, there was that. So I did.
And never heard a thing back.
Never heard anything from MUFON. Right. I put in a report with them and everything. It was this form you fill out online, and that was the end of it. And then eventually, I don't know how long it was, a week later, couple weeks later, where I ended up getting this bug up my butt. Maybe we should start a Facebook group and just put it out there. If anybody's seen anything like this, Michelle typed up our story. She put it on her Facebook page, and I just took that and put it as the first post on this group. I made it a private group. So, people had to hear about it and,
right,
ask to join. So fast forward now to late 2020, early 2021. And we have over 2,100 members of the group of people sharing their experiences and stuff.
And that's after screening. I mean, we would have a lot more.
Yeah.
But it's like, kind of have to go through a vetting process.
Yes.
And it's surprising to me that people are sharing this information with us, and are they credible? From what I hear in the locations, especially, I'm interested in the triangles. And I don't have any reason to doubt what people are telling us, because we saw that same, they described the same exact thing, and it seems to be operating. There's one at that point was operating around Ford Road 275 and then down 94 toward 23 and 94. And then going further west, and you're getting into like Willow Run Airport and things like that. People have said that they've seen that same kind of object. Now, other people are saying that they've seen the orbs and things like that. But it was that was the catalyst where I was like, I listened to a couple podcasts, the Brothers of the Serpent, Paranormal, the Paranormal podcast, Jim Harold, popular ones like that. And I was like, maybe we should talk about these things.
Well, and it was just a matter of taking that Facebook group kind of to the next level. But this was, this was Wayne's baby. So
I mean, it's not anything I've ever really wanted to do before or anything like that. It just seemed like that this was the right time. And then all of a sudden, David Fravors on Joe Rogan, the Tic Tac, the Fast Mover video.
Yep.
Then the Navy guys all coming out, and now we're going to get this report on June 10th. And then just the way things have lined up since we did our first episode back in February of this year. And when we talked about our experience, it's, you know, we tell the story, our story, we call it the awakening in the flying triangle. I mean, that's really what started it off. And, you know, now we're up to, you know, almost 2,000 downloads, you know, on the podcast. Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, and it's just been kind of going from there. It's like, I'm hoping to get an author that actually did a couple books on the whole swamp gas thing. He said that he would be getting in contact with us. I guess he's working on some kind of book deal or something.
Yeah,
He couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, there were some legalities
So,
with an attorney.
So once that was done, I think he said toward the end of June, early July. And then I met the guys from the Midnight Truck Stop when we kind of started around the same time. They were kind of starting out on the West Coast, and I just kind of stumbled upon their podcast and talking with them. And then I heard Terry Lovelace on their show. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I said, you know, maybe we should try to get him on. And I just went to his website. I emailed him. He emailed me back in like 5 minutes. He's like, anything to help out a fellow Michigander and get you guys started. Yeah.
That was cool.
Like,
that connection.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a Michigander. He's,
yeah.
You know, went to Western Michigan, and, you know, he had his son, I guess, had a law practice in Lansing.
Yeah. He went to Michigan State. That's where I graduated from. Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, this strange connections, you know, and then he breaks on our podcast the other night that he's getting his own weekly radio show. And he wants to come back on. I mean, dude, it's just, this thing is just, you know, and then of course there was Guy Merritt was
such a great episode.
Which, you know, I listened to his and stuff just keeps on going on with him. You know, I was just talking to him the other day, and the weirdness just continues. You know, I just wanted to check in on him to see how he was doing, because when we recorded our interview with him, it became a very emotional interview for him. He went through a lot and still continues to go through a lot many years later, even though, you know, his sighting was March 18th, 1994.
Right.
You know, so, but he saw a black triangle and had, you know, very bad experience. Now, he wasn't abducted or anything like that. He makes that apparent, but he knows people that were around that same time, that the connections and stuff just become very strange. And it continues. I mean,
it starts to feel like this can't be coincidence.
Exactly.
Certainly. Yeah,
exactly. I know. I like to say, I don't believe in coincidences. You know, why did I want to start this podcast? I have no idea. You know, why did I start the Facebook group? Well, I wanted to know. Now my curiosity, I think, I don't know who it is, Jeremy Corbell or whatever. And one of the sayings that he says is, you know, weaponize your curiosity. I think I'm weaponizing my curiosity because I'm a scientist.
Yes.
I teach science, and I am a classically trained science guy. And I want to know. I want to know what the hell this shit is. And why did I have that feeling when I saw that? Who are they? Are they military? Are these things from somewhere else? What are they doing here? In my sense and my feeling, like I was telling Terry on the podcast, is I think they're just, whatever this is, it's like how we treat farm animals. Like we are just, you know, we're just kind of in the way of whatever it is these things are doing. And the little grays or whatever people are seeing, I think there's some type of AI or some type of drone.
I agree.
And they don't, you know, they experiment on people, they experiment on cattle. They, you know, God only knows what other type of animals that we never even know of that they, you know, experiment with, or whatever the case may be. And I don't even know who they are, but see, that's the thing. I want to know. And now the government finally, after all these years and bashing people and all this stuff, now they're going to come out and tell us what they don't know about
Right.
UFOs on June 10th. And
Yeah.
it's just, you know, all of this stuff. And now I'll be doing an interview with a author coming up who has a very interesting experience as well. I think that's coming up on June. I think I have him
12th.
booked for June 12th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I don't want to say anything more about it just in case, you know, something happens and he's not going to be on the show. But
Yeah, jinx it.
Yeah.
Well, jinx
Right.
it.
yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's just crazy how, you know, in an episode, things have just blown up. I mean, you know, and then finding you guys, you know, your podcast and, you know, heavy metal, and all this.
Oh my
stuff.
God, it's like the mix of the two. It's like,
Oh yeah. No.
yes.
Well, they go hand
Yeah.
in hand. I will constantly say that because of the heavy metal is the heavy metal horror story. You know, that was
Right.
know, Alice Cooper back in the day, and
Yes.
you know, right? I mean, it's shock rock kind of. You know, it's Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, it's the horror it's the horror genre of music.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
And how fast can you play and how brutal can you make it sound, and you know, all of that stuff. But there is, you know, there's the occult mix in it.
Yes.
You know, and by occult, I don't mean like little shadowy guys in hoods and stuff. I'm talking about like occluded, like hidden. That's what occult means. It means to be hidden from sight. And it's this hidden knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then you find out, you start digging around. I like math. I'm digging around a little bit in the occult. What do I stumble into? Numerology. Well, where does that come from? The Freemasons.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that tie back to? The priest and stuff back into Egypt and their
Mhm.
building techniques and how they used math. So they encoded all of their math and things into this architecture, which they
Mhm.
call sacred geometry. And it just goes on and on and on. It's all related.
Yes.
I mean, the what is it? The unifying theory of everything.
Yeah.
It always goes back to heavy metal.
Yes. That's what it all comes down to. Absolutely. Yeah, that
It's just crazy, man.
it really is. It really is.
I mean, I'm kind of on board for this ride now. It's almost like it's kind of going on its own. Like, oh, now Contact in the Desert, right? So they just emailed me today and they wanted a picture of Michelle and I that they're going to put into a online poster with our episode of Terry Lovelace and put a link and broadcast our stuff to the whole world.
That's gonna be amazing, dude. You're gonna get
Dude, what
that
is going on here?
and that is there are a small handful of individuals that really like influenced me to do this show, and that the podcasters specifically, you know, Jamie Josta, Kevin Smith is probably the biggest one.
Yes.
Yep.
He is, I am not worthy. He is one of my hugest idols.
Creative dude.
Oh
He's
man.
creative.
Josta, Smith, Rogan, but
Rogan for sure.
but also the one that, and this isn't a podcast, but the thing that always, it kind of made me not hesitate to bring the paranormal element into the show was listening to so much Coast to Coast AM. I've never listened to a show. I've known about it, but I've never listened to Coast to Coast. George Norrie, I know who that is because he's recorded a commercial for Contact in the Desert that we put into our episodes now because we're helping promote Contact in the, you know, two teachers sitting in their living room recording a podcast talking about about the strange shit we've seen, and we've got people to talk to about it, and it's insane. Oh, and you guys don't even realize it, but like, so I go back. So we Aaron and I guested on your show on episode 5, I believe. And
that's correct. Lost in the Paranormal. Look it up, people.
Yes. And yes, everybody please check that one out. But so I go back, I'm listening to it, and then like I'm listening to us talk, and then cut in, I hear a commercial with George Norrie, and I freak out. Like I got the craziest goosebumps. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm on a show and George Norrie's in a commercial. Like that it just blew me away. So please, like, tell me about Contact in the Desert. What is this? This is an online paranormal convention?
It's a UFO convention. This is what I know about it. I mean, new to me. I mean, but it's this year. It is a virtual conference, but it is the USA's largest UFO conference done once a year. It's the largest thing to do with UFOs. And if you look at, I think they have over 60 people that are going to be talking. The author from Communion, Stryber, I think his name is.
Okay.
Terry Lovelace is going to be talking. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And a lot of those people are doing podcasts themselves. Richard Dolan, man, I'm going to sound like a jerk because I don't know like a lot of this stuff because again, we're getting pulled into this and
right,
kind of blown away. But the Chariot of the Gods, who wrote that?
Graham Hancock.
Nope, not Graham Hancock. Donegan.
Oh, you're right. So
yeah, like ancient astronaut theory stuff.
Okay,
Chariot
yeah.
of
I
the
was gonna
Gods.
say Hancock, something of the gods.
Fingerprints of the gods. Yeah. Now I really dig his stuff.
Me too.
Yeah, that's the ancient archaeology, and it's being backed up by science now, which that's my side of it. Is I really enjoy that. Yeah, man, it's just I don't know. Like I said, man, it's a crazy ride, and unfortunately or fortunately, since we started doing this now, and still working and everything else, I've lost a lot of time not being able to listen to my my podcast that I used to like to listen to.
Right.
So I don't know what anybody's talking about right now.
You're backed up. You got a bunch of episodes you need to get to. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. Yeah.
Yeah, but Contact in the Desert, I emailed Terry Lovelace, and like I said, he emailed me almost right at the same time. I climb into bed, I check my email on the phone, I go, holy crap, he emailed us back. He wants to come on for sure. And then he introduces me to a woman that's putting the Contact in the Desert conference together because he's going to be a lecturer there. Right. And so she emails me and she's like, yeah, send us your logo and stuff. And when you interview Terry, send us the show and all that. So that's what I was doing before we hooked up on this call today, was sending them a picture with the MP3 file of the show and everything. And they just sent me back. They said, well, we will be putting, what are you laughing at?
I'm just looking at the pricing for tickets. They have virtual day passes for $89.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think that gets you into like whatever you want to watch for
the whole day.
Day. They've got like weekend passes. They have a virtual galactic pass. I swear it's like a backstage pass at a rock concert. You
probably.
You'll have to check it out for the 2021 Contact in the Desert.
And what's the name of the website so I can put it down below?
It's contactinthedesert.com.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it's crazy.
June 25th through the 28th.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's after the report comes out.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So that's going to be crazy. Yeah. So you can just imagine what that's going to be like. All these people, I think, are getting vindicated, and I was watching Netflix today because obviously the power being out, I'm on my phone, had nothing else to do. So I'm on my phone and I'm watching this show called Hangar One. Well, it's, I guess, a show that was created by MUFON, and I'm looking at it and I'm watching one of the episodes about USOs, and they're talking about these Navy guys that have reported all of these weird sightings and stuff underwater and around these ships and stuff. And you know, the way they portray it and stuff is not very good. Yeah, Clyde Lewis is going to be there. I always liked listening to Clyde Lewis too. I guess I didn't get the AM or the coast to coast AM, but Clyde Lewis was somebody I was interested in. But yeah, so it's like all these people are starting to become vindicated,
Right.
you know. And I'm glad to see that, because I'm really not a fan of you know, instantly trying to debunk something that somebody says or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously something has happened.
Yeah.
All right. So it's like, let's start there and let's leave the name calling and all that stuff. Some event happened. And you know, but sometimes, you know, you watch some of these shows and people and things, and you know, the media does what media does, right?
Yeah.
They got to make it stupid, you know,
Mhm.
and they set you up for that kind of stuff. Like even like the Tucker Carlson stuff that we've been seeing on a lot of the news out on YouTube and all the news that's coming out and stuff. It's like, you know, when he opens up his show, when he's talking about UFOs, it's the city backdrop and here's a UFO,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that. It's like, really, we got to do the cheese. And then you go in and talk about how, you know, US Navy destroyers, the most technical advanced weapon system on the planet, are out in the ocean, and here are these things that they can't do nothing about floating
They
over.
can't even explain.
Then they can't even explain these pyramids.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I agree with the whole, like, the, you know, the vindication thing. We're talking about something that, you know, there's a very, very recent point in time where you bring this stuff up to just like some random person, and they're gonna think you're crazy. They're gonna immediately credit you. The government has gone to great lengths to silence people in the past. We know this.
absolutely. We know this now.
People's lives have been ruined because of this stuff. Like, yeah. So the fact that, like, it's now we're getting past that, I think is awesome. It is a great step for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. It's yeah, you know, the disinformation and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I hope more people come out, you know, come forward. And
so what and I'm sure I mean, yeah, I think especially with this report coming, anybody that was ever afraid to before to come out will probably be a lot more willing to, especially with all the press that it's, you know, this stuff has been getting and stuff lately. It's insane.
And one of the things I've heard about that's going to be in this report are going to be something we don't ever hear about, because it's very sensitive when you're talking about top secret knowledge and technology that the US has. But data that from US ballistic and nuclear attack submarines of data of them tracking sonar contacts moving hundreds of miles per hour under the ocean that nothing can do, that show up. Yeah. So they, you know, nuclear submarines are crazy with their computers and their listening device, because they're nuclear weapons, right? Floating around in the oceans at various depths, you know, 1,000 feet down. And they can listen to the propellers on another ship and be able to identify what that ship is.
That's
just
insane.
From this, right? But they apparently they're going to be releasing sonar tapes or logs or something that show how that these submarines have been tracking these things for years.
Wow.
That these ships or whatever they are can come down into the water and then move at high rates of speed that nothing man-made can move at through the water,
especially
and all kinds of maneuvers, right? And then be zoom out of sonar range and done and silent.
That's unbelievable.
Right.
If that, oh yeah.
So why are they going into the ocean? What's there? or is there a bunch of them there? Is
Right.
there a base there? Are there
Right.
bases there? Because it's a
Right.
good place to hide.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good place. I mean, on the surface of the earth, there's nowhere really better if you want to hide from humans.
71% of,
Yeah.
of our planet is water. And you know, the Great Lakes is known for stuff because our lakes are so
Oh, yeah.
deep that people have seen stuff. And I guess 94 out on the west coast of Michigan, I'm looking into that, was a UFO flap as well, but it was over Lake Michigan where a lot of these things were seen.
There was a recent UFO flap around Lake Michigan as well that, you know, we actually, I think it's I want to say 2017-ish,
Okay.
where they had that big Chicago O'Hara sighting.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And that, if you go a step deeper into the paranormal, there were a big string of sightings around the same time in the Chicago area and just along Lake Michigan in general of a cryptid called the Mothman, if you've ever heard of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it got so prevalent to the point where people started calling it like the Lake Michigan Mothman. And so there's even recently there have been things going on over our lakes that seem to be strange. Something strange is going on.
Yeah, and I believe back in the 70s, late 60s, there was a couple of fighter jets that were dispatched to go after something that was sighted, and one of them went down, and they never found the jet or the pilot.
Oh,
There was
wow.
no real explanation. I'm gonna have to look further into that as well, but I want to say it was like a F-86 fighter jet that was dispatched. There was two of them, and when you ask the Air Force about what happened, they always tell you different stories. So it's like they're crossing back then, you know, the stories get crossed as to whatever happened. And I had a friend of mine send me something through Discord, and I'm going to have to look at that again because that could be an interesting story to dig into as well. But yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just crazy.
It's
I mean,
it really is.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about it. It's like you know, growing up as a kid and just like always being into this stuff, and it's just always being like considered pseudoscience and all that stuff. And now, you know, we're getting to this point where it's like it's on 60 Minutes, you know what I mean? And
right.
And all that stuff. And it's just, yeah, it's definitely, and I can't even imagine, because I've never had an experience even close to anything you guys did. So I can't even imagine how it must feel for you, like being like, oh my God, we just saw this crazy thing. And now just a few years later, like we saw it, like it was there.
Yep.
There's no question. And now like it's understood, like people can believe us because like it's not the United States government saying, yeah, no, these things are there.
Yeah. And you know, there's going to be those people out there, even when they do, you know, let people know. Yeah. I mean, even Obama was on some show.
Yeah.
The other
I was
day.
going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's saying that, you know, I can't tell you too much about this, and you can tell how quickly he goes off script and his whole, you know, speech and everything changes.
His demeanor.
Yeah. And he's like, you know, he's doing kind of this stuff. But he says, you know, we do have, basically, we don't know, there are some things flying around that we don't know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but there will still be people out there that will not, you know, want to believe it. And, you know, it doesn't matter what you want to believe or not. If it's a fact, it's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, it just, and there are things out there, we just don't know what they are.
Right.
So now, have they crashed or whatever? Probably. I mean, things crash sometimes. My gut feeling is, and I think Lazar said this, and I can't, for whatever reason, I'm kind of falling into Lazar's camp with this idea, and that is that years ago there was an archaeology dig or something going on, and they found some of these, or a craft or something buried that they recovered. And that's kind of where I'm kind of thinking, you know, maybe that's what really started a lot of this. So I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing that there's been other things that have crashed or whatever, and they've been dug up by teams of archaeologists, and they don't know what to do with them or what to make of them, and they're trying
Right.
to figure them out.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely could see that. Something found. Yeah. Yeah.
you
That's yeah, man. And Lazar's another Michigander,
yeah, there
by
you
the
go.
way.
Right.
Uh
Getting raided by the FBI while they're doing the
documentary,
video.
yeah.
Why if he's lying and stuff, why is the FBI bothering with him?
Right.
What's going on there? Well, they think he stole some kind of element that
Element
or
151.
some- yeah.
Yep.
That he took some of it. And so
You
maybe
know,
he did. I don't know.
at least that's the reasoning they give for
Right.
harassing him.
Right.
You know, that's yeah, and I don't know about all that, but yeah, it seems like a bit of a stretch to me, but
Yeah.
it's all I mean, it's all absolutely fascinating. I am just completely I was completely ecstatic when I found your podcast to begin with. You know, just the
Yeah, it was a dog man, wasn't it?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm always constantly looking for any Michigan based podcast that has anything to do with music or paranormal or anything, you know, of these things that I'm interested in. And when I found yours and I heard that little metal intro and outro you guys
Yeah,
have.
that's Subsidence, by the way.
Yeah. And I was like, hang on. And then you guys asked for people to send in stories. So I did. And then we got connected and everything. And it's just,
Yep.
you know, it's, I'm just really, I'm happy for you guys and I'm excited to continue to like watch your podcast grow and everything. And it's, you guys have taken giant steps real quick and it's awesome to watch. And
you know what? We're not taking giant steps. We're being pushed, man.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, or we're being pulled. I mean, it's like, I'm just, you know, we're just along for the ride. You know, somebody else is driving at this point. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, the whole thing is paranormal to me. This is not,
yeah.
I'm a teacher. My wife's a teacher. We got kids. We got lives, you know, we got things that we do and stuff like that. And then this gets added into the mix, you know, it's,
and it's just taken off. Like,
yeah,
it's awesome, dude. It's so awesome.
It's a crazy ride, but yeah, it's, you know, and it's fun because, you know, my wife and I being teachers, you know, we're both quote unquote lifelong learners.
Yes.
So we talk for a living because we teach, you know, we're interested in our things but we also like to learn new stuff. And man, this is so much to learn. I mean, there's so many people out there and the books that are out there that I've never even been exposed to before. I mean, you know, it's
and I highly recommend checking out Coast to Coast AM's YouTube channel. They post a lot of good clips nowadays and stuff like that. Or, you know, just check it. You know, I don't know what the AM station it would be on in Detroit, or in where you guys are. But it is still on every weeknight. I think from like, God, I can't remember, like 1 or 2 a.m. to something. It comes on at like midnight or 1 and goes for a few hours. But they've been posting a lot of really good clips. I think last time we talked, I told you about, you should check out David Politis. Like that one, like is really going to send you through some loops. Like,
oh man,
because it's a thing about missing people. And these, he built a specific profile where it's just like, I don't even know, like, let's allow for the possibility of aliens. I don't even know if that explains it. Like it's there's such weird stuff. Like it's really fascinating. And
well, you know, what I'm interested in too now is learning about this Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, I love the Skinwalker Ranch. Yes.
I mean, I know that there's a show now and I've watched the show and I'm up to speed on it, but this is news to me. And then they're catching some of these orbs and weird stuff going on. Whoa. I was like, wait. What?
That place is the Gambit. You get everything from all things paranormal, all things cryptid, all things UFO. Like that place has everything. And one of the in my research, at least personally, one of the things commonalities, one of the thread lines that I've definitely found is look, I don't know how to explain any of this stuff, but what I do know is there is something going on.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to places related to Native American burial grounds or just any things Native American. There is something going on with that. And the Skinwalker Ranch used to be Native American land.
Yeah.
And
the Ute Indians. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's just like every single time that element is included in a story, it's one of the craziest stories. Like there's something.
They were kind of the first people here, and they're very in tune with nature.
Yes.
And whatever, magnetic forces, whatever, they had their sacred lands and they knew where to build things. And, back, thousands of years ago, I mean, imagine you have nothing like you have today. Mm-hmm. But what do you have at night? You have a whole show playing out for you in the sky, in the night sky.
Yes.
And that was probably a lot of their entertainment, but God only knows putting on my science hat, as far as we know, the universe is about 14.5 billion years.
Yeah.
Earth is about 4.5 billion years. We're also, the current theory is that we are a second generation star. So there was a star here 4, 6, 7 billion years ago, and possibly a solar system. It blew up. And now we had a nebula. That nebula came back together, created our current solar system. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that accounts for Earth being around for the last 5 billion years. Okay. What was going on the 10 billion years before that?
Right.
And as much as big as the universe is and how many stars, and now we're finding all these exoplanets, you can't tell me we're the only life in this universe. Now, how far technology wise, I mean, try as a mental exercise, try to project what humans will be like in 1,000 years. Look where we're at today. I mean, my wife likes to play Beat Saber in virtual reality on my virtual reality headset.
I've been ratted out.
I can put on this headset in virtual reality and I can fly airplanes in a simulator and it looks real. I mean, so much so that if I lose control of the plane, I feel like I'm going to throw up, because it's so intense. We got information at our fingertips now. We carry more computer power in our pocket than the Apollo missions had.
Yes.
It goes on. What are we going to be like in 1,000 years, 500 years, 100 years?
Yeah.
Maybe even 50 years. How are we going to project that out? Would we be able to bend the laws of physics or understand them better, where we're going to be able to put people into some kind of a ship and send them to another planet to explore that planet? We're flying a helicopter on Mars right now.
Yeah.
Right. So what is that going to be like? And what are these other places like? So it's you do that thought experiment and forget it. You might as well just lay back and go to sleep.
Yeah, pretty much,
because your mind is going to be blown.
It's truly endless. There's no I've always considered it an ignorant response to think that we're the only intelligent life in the universe.
There's no way.
No,
there's no way.
No, absolutely not. And hopefully on June 10th, we find out a lot more about it. Fingers crossed for sure.
Yeah, at least maybe point us in some kind of a direction.
Right.
And if they don't know, I mean, I understand the whole national security thing and everything. That makes sense why you'd want to cover some of that stuff up.
Yes.
But this is getting kind of ridiculous. We got airline pilots talking about something flying right over the airplane, in controlled airspace and, almost hitting the airliner. You know, how many other airliners might have been, how many accidents might have been caused because of something coming into close contact, or they get close enough that the pilot freaks out and does something with the aircraft to lose control of the aircraft, and then it goes down.
Yep.
Right. Not that anything was being offensive, you know, taking an offensive posture or anything, but just freaked out. I mean, it's all kinds of things.
Yeah. And it would be understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's again, it's insane. That's all we can say.
It's insane. It really is. And somehow we got roped into this because of a damn triangle we saw one night. I mean, it's crazy.
A triangle you saw in the sky,
was huge.
and not even a couple days after I started this podcast, and now we're here talking about it together 3 years later. It's that's
the March connections. Now the historic Fort Wayne connections.
Yeah. It's just, it never ends. It's completely wild.
Well, here's something wild for you, honey. Tell them the whole Wayne thing. The whole Wayne connection.
Oh my God. Are we talking about
like
the name thing?
Yeah.
That I grew up in the city of Wayne off of Wayne Road, went to Wayne Memorial High School, lived in Wayne County the majority or pretty much all of my life, and my husband's name is Wayne.
That's good. Is
that crazy or what?
It is. My cousin Preston, his dad is named Dave. And when they left the Detroit area, they moved to Davidson, Michigan, and he works. He still works, I believe, for the Davy Tree Company.
Yeah,
swear to God.
Wow,
like it's just
it's hilarious,
insane.
Man.
It's insane. But I have kept you guys for nearly 3 hours. I can't keep you any longer.
Oh, really?
I cannot. Yeah, we're almost at 3 hours. I cannot thank you guys enough for being on. You guys we will definitely be back on each other's shows whenever you guys want. With this show, we have an open door policy. Anybody that wants to come on or come back anytime,
absolutely,
you're 100% welcome.
You guys are definitely welcome to come back as well. Especially, after we get a couple more guests on, if you guys want to come on and make some commentary about, Terry and his book, get his book, read it. We can come back together and talk about that,
talk about that and in the report. I really want
the report's
that'll be a good discussion.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I really want to talk to you guys about that when it happens. But I absolutely cannot thank you guys enough for having us on your show. Hang on, because we were the first. Your show was the first guest we were ever on. Is this the first time you guys have ever guested on a show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've been invited on another show, and I'm still waiting to get the date and everything ironed out. That was before we even met you guys, but the dates have just been a mess to get on their show because they're out on the West Coast. But
we got it first.
Yep.
You guys are now forever in the Lost in the Dark Hall of Fame. Then that's 100%.
That's awesome.
I think that means that we have to buy each other dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, definitely. We'll definitely have to meet up for some dinner sometime, and that'll be a blast.
For sure.
But thank you guys so much. Everybody listening to this, be sure you guys got the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, as well as the private Facebook group and the public Facebook podcast page. Now all available. Links will be in the description below. And
awesome.
I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. We're glad to come on and talk to you, and hope to have you back on the show soon, man.
Good times tonight.
Definitely. I will I'll end this recording and then we'll wrap up. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Everybody check out the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, especially episode 5. I mean, what did I tell you guys? Like, that was insane. That was like I said earlier, one of my favorite podcasts I've ever it's definitely the first podcast I've ever done with someone, 2 people firsthand recounted a UFO encounter. Like, that's Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, that is, for me, maybe this is just me, but for me as a podcaster, that is a dream come true. Like, that was absolutely incredible. Again, I can never thank Wayne and Michelle enough from the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Links in the description below. This whole thing just meant the absolute world to me, and I'll make this outro short. It really don't know how to say it. Like, it meant the world to me from the bottom of my heart. It meant the world to me. And I really genuinely hope and cannot wait to do more with them in the future, because they, the combination of the heavy metal and the paranormal, it's like, are you kidding? It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's what I've been looking. Michigan, heavy metal, paranormal. Those three things. Like, and they tick every box. So it's just so exciting to see how well they're doing, and to be a guest on their show and to have them on ours is an honor. And I just genuinely hope to do more, be able to do more with them in the future, because I think we could have a lot of fun. So huge shout out, everybody, go listen to the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, especially if you're into the paranormal. I know not everybody is. But if you are, they have a great one, and they got some guests lined up already, that are pretty extraordinary. And, so links in the description below, not just, they got all kinds of stuff. They got the Facebook group. They got multiple Facebook situations, and they're on every audio platform. So, links in the description below to check all of that out. I will be sure to put all of that. Just click the drop down and boom, it will be revealed to you. So, yeah, it's all going to be right there in this video, and I can never, ever, ever thank them enough for having us on and being on our show, and I absolutely cannot wait to meet you guys in person. That will happen. We'll line that up sometime this summer for sure. And we'll do we'll do something. We'll do a podcast. We'll do something. And it's going to be tremendous fun. I can't wait to talk to you guys again after this UFO report comes out. Oh my God. There's just so much. I can't wait to talk to you guys about. And, too, I am putting together a paranormal investigation this summer for sure. So I'll keep you guys in the loop about that as well. It'd be really wonderful to have you guys with us on that too. So yeah. But what I'm saying, people, is I hope this is just the beginning of doing stuff with Wayne and Michelle and the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, because these 2 episodes we've done already were just so amazing to me, and I just think it's so awesome, and to grow the community, especially here in Michigan, podcasters bringing it all together. It's just exciting to me. So I can never, ever, ever, ever thank them enough for being on. Shout out to Jordan. I know you're watching, brother. I'll see you in the pit. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. I think that's going to be it for this one. But everybody, give all your love to Wayne and Michelle in the comments below. Share this one, like it, spread it everywhere, because I never say that. Anybody that's watched this show before knows I never say that shit. But for this one, because I want to get them out there more, you know, I want more people to see their stuff. Like, share, comment on this one if you could. That'd be awesome. I never, ever, ever ask for that. You guys know that. It's not my thing. But for ones that I really want to get it out there, this is one of them. So if you could, and comment below, tell me if you liked this episode. If you want more like this, I would greatly appreciate it. If you have had any kind of paranormal or UFO related experience, please reach out. Please reach out. I would love to hear your story. You could be on the show. You can just write in at lostinthedarkpodcast@gmail.com. Whatever. Like, if you want to be on, if you want to talk to us, whatever. We'd love to hear from you. Seriously, that would be awesome. But yeah, I think that's about it for this one. Write in if you want, like, share, whatever, subscribe if you want. But do it for Wayne and Michelle, because they are magical people, and they have a really wonderful podcast that brings me a lot of joy. So, yeah, do it for them for sure. And be sure to check out all things Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast, hosted by the ones, the onlys, Wayne and Michelle from Detroit. Come on. I mean, like, there's nothing better than that. So, check out all things them. Links in the description below. As always, you bad motherfuckers, you crypt crew, you know we will be back again very soon with so much more. We always got shit in the works. We're always doing shit. And if there's a week where we don't post a lot, it's because we're banking a lot. It's not because we're not doing stuff. I promise. So that's going to be it for this one. I want to say this is like 187. This is episode 187. I can't believe we've made it this far. And I can't believe we've had the amazing guests we've had. One more time, giant shout out, everybody. Round of applause. Throw your fucking horns in the air for fucking Wayne and Michelle from the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Can never thank them enough. We love you guys to death, and we cannot wait to do more with you. And for all of you bad motherfucking crypt crew, we will be back again very soon. So much more. You guys know it. Let us know, though, what you're liking, what you're not liking, whatever. Like, I got a couple people I hear from, and I love you to death. Gould, Holy Gould. Come on. Damn it. I love you. But, we got a couple of people we hear from, but not many. So if more of you, if any of you are sitting there right now like, oh yeah, they probably hear from a bunch of people, I won't put in my thing. That's what I thought too. And then I ended up on the Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast from one email. So trust me when I tell you, we do not hear from a lot of people. So we would love to hear from you if you're watching this. And if you made it this far, that means the world to us. So thank you so much. And thank you so much to Wayne and Michelle, Michigan UFO Sightings and Paranormal Encounters podcast. Everybody, check them out. Links in the description below. Without further ado, we're going to wrap this one up. I hope you all enjoyed this one as much as I did. This one meant the world to me. This was a super special episode for me. And as always, we'll be back again with so much more. But until then, you bad motherfuckers know what to do, right? Come on, raise your fucking horns and bang your goddamn heads. We love you all to death. Good night!